day of cloud architect interviews and cloud engineer interviews. And here's the thing, if you want to get a cloud architect job or a cloud engineer job, you have to pass the cloud architect interview or the cloud engineer interview. And that's why we do these here completely free. See, the cloud architect career and the cloud engineer career are some of my favorites in the entire world. But in my experience, 90% of the population trains improperly. People trained that desire to be cloud architects trained to be cloud engineers, and we can't have that. And people that are cloud architects training to be cloud engineers also have a different set of skills. So that's why we do these things. The other reason we do this is interviews are stressful, and most people don't have the opportunity for cloud computing career training or cloud computing career advice or practice interviews. And if you master the interview, not only will you get cloud hired, but you'll get paid more. And I have students that companies will pay 20 and 30, $40,000 above their maximum pay rate because someone did such a good job on the cloud architect interview or the solution architect interview. So interview training is a critical part of your cloud architect career development. It's critical cloud computing career training. And, whether you want a cloud architect job with AWS or AWS career tips or anything in your technical career development plan, you got to be prepped for the interview. You got to win the interview. See, the interview is a competition. It's a bit like war. There's no participation trophies in the interview world. You've got 50 people applying for the job. One person gets it. Who gets it? The absolute best cloud architect or the absolute best solutions architect. The one with the right attitude, the right energy, the right enthusiasm, the right passion. I'm going to tell you right now, a solution architect interview or a cloud architect interview is 50% about your skills, technology skills. And the other 50% is related to your attitude, your energy, your enthusiasm, your competency. Can they trust you? Are you willing to go above and beyond? And are you a team player? So when I interview you all, take that into account because you've got to convey that to the hiring manager. Whether it's AWS leadership principles or Cisco's leadership principles or Microsoft's leadership principles, we all want the same thing. So that's why we're going to do these things. Now, today, we've got a lot of really wonderful people. I know some of them are new, but that's okay. We're thrilled to have everyone here for our interview training. But before we begin, can you all give me, what's up?
I thought you were about to do something else. I was going to say, no, time out. But keep going.
I was going to say, before we begin, can you give me a hashtag cloud architect interview and a hashtag solution architect interview? In the chat box, can you tell me exactly where you're from in the chat box so we know who you are? And also give me a hashtag whether you want to be a solution architect or a cloud architect or guess what? A cloud engineer or anything we want because we want to help you get cloud hired. So, Chris, do you want to talk about the new things that we've got going on, the free things coming so I can save my voice a little bit?
I sure do. So I only want to talk about a couple of them today just because there's so many of them coming up. But I just want to remind everybody that starting next week on Tuesday of next week, we have our AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate Bootcamp that will be led by Mike, and that will start on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be each day next week, and it will be approximately 3 hours every day. So we definitely look forward to you joining us and taking part in that. It's free. It's not $1,000 like some other people are trying to charge $1,000 for certified solutions architect boot camps. It's free. You come join us on YouTube, interact with us, ask your questions, and you don't have to pay for the training. It's just free. We strongly believe in the entry level tech training to be free. So free from somebody that's got decades of experience in the industry. So I just wanted to remind you all of that. And I think Leo has put the link in the chat box there. Also next week on Tuesday as well, we will have our Head in the Clouds show next week on Tuesday, like we always do. And Alvin DaCosta, Vice President from NVIDIA, will be joining us for a great discussion there about tech careers and what hiring managers are looking for in their employees. So make sure to join us for that after the first day of the boot camp. Join us that evening on Tuesday for the show with Alvin DaCosta from NVIDIA and Mike Gibbs. The next thing that I've got for everybody is in November. we'll be doing the AWS Advanced Networking plus what you really need to know. We'll be doing that boot camp in November. Again, that'll be another week-long boot camp. It will be free to you, so that you just register at the link that Leo is providing in the chat box. And there's all kinds of things about networking that I don't understand and that I don't know and that I don't know what to say, but Mike knows what to say, but I'm not letting Mike say. So if Mike wants to say them briefly, very quickly, you've got 15 seconds. What are all those things that that you cover in that networking thing that I don't know?
We're going to cover the critical things that an architect needs to know, such as BGP, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, Clerk channel, Ether channel, link aggregation groups. We'll talk for real about NAT and not just NAT connecting to the internet, like in the AWS Advanced Networking. We will talk about WAN technologies and what's used to optimize and design an organization's WAN. Of course, we'll get into subnetting and supernetting and route aggregation and summarization, because in the cloud, you can only send, for the most part, 100 routes. So all those critical things that network architects like me actually focus on, I'm going to give you a little bit of a high-level introduction to them. So the AWS Advanced Networking is an intro to junior-level networking. Ours will be a good, strong networking course, because I want you all getting cloud hired as a solution architect, a cloud architect. And I know most people will never have access to a Cisco-certified internet expert with 25 years networking experience. And if you do, it's going to be $5,000 to $10,000 for a course like this. And I know most people can't afford that. Look, I spent $40,000 to do my CCIE 20-some years ago. And I want to make it free, because I want you all getting hired and having the best career. So Chris, I'll go back.
I did not start my timer, but I'm pretty sure that was more than 15 seconds, but I'll give it to you.
The reason Chris is keeping me to 15 seconds is I have laryngitis right now, and he's trying to help me save my voice for the boot camp.
So Mike is asking for certain hashtags out there. I'll be asking for certain hashtags later if Mike goes too long on his talks. If you were with us last night, you'll know what that hashtag is. So just be ready for that. So the last thing I have is to just asking you guys to make sure you're following Mike and Go Cloud Careers on LinkedIn. Like we said, we've got a lot of things coming up. These are just a few of them. So the easiest way to find out what we have going on is to follow us on LinkedIn. So make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, and you will be aware of everything. So register for the AWS Bootcamp, register for the AWS Advanced Networking Plus Bootcamp, and make sure you're following us on LinkedIn, and set your reminder for next Tuesday night's episode of Head in the Clouds with Alvin DaCosta from NVIDIA. That's what I've got. So I guess I'll go back to the big board here, and welcome everybody. So I've got an eclectic group of people here for you today, Mike. It was
wonderful.
It was quite a bit more difficult this time getting people to commit and then stick to their commitment this time. So we've got, I guess that's just how it is these days. But so this is what we've got. I like some of these faces I see here.
I do too.
Definitely excited about this one.
But it doesn't surprise me, Chris. What percentage of people schedule interviews at certain businesses and actually don't show up?
Don't show up. Oh.
The statistics are pretty scary in today's world.
You know how exciting it is as a hiring manager to actually have somebody reschedule? Like the fact that they like have the forward thought to say, okay, I should actually reschedule this. I should make the effort to communicate that I have to do this, like that. Like I love it when people actually reach out and tell me they have to reschedule, but just not showing up or changing at the last or changing at the last second. Yeah, those are always fun ones. So anyway, I've got a volunteer for the first for our first one. Are you ready to go, Mike?
I'm always ready to go.
You are, yeah. Yes, you are always ready to go. So, all right. So before we get started here, I saw a bunch of hashtags out there. Guillermo asked, "How much is the boot camp?" The boot camp is free. The boot camp is free. So before we get started, I'm not going to let Mike start until I get a bunch of cloud hired hashtags in the chat box, because that's the goal of all of this, is to get cloud hired. So if I don't see a lot of cloud hired comments in the chat box, then we are not getting started. Mike is not going to talk. Nobody's getting interviewed. Okay, I can rely on Leo to get it started there. Cloud hired from Leo. The Lady Godiva, cloud hired. All right, if I get a few more, we'll get started. Oh, there we go. There, now they're starting to come in. All right, so we will get started now with our first volunteer. So let's see here. I'm going to remove everybody else from the screen. Stay with us, people that I'm removing off the screen. We will add you all back here later. And there we go.
Hi, Oscar.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, and you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for making the time to speak with me today.
I'm so happy. Before we begin, I'd like to ask you, what are your biggest strengths? What's your biggest knowledge base? Because architecture is so big. I want to make sure that, I don't care if you come from networking like me, or if you come from the application side. There's so many wonderful places we can come from. So what is your background, and what do you know about?
Well, Mike, I've been working in technology for 25 years, and most of that time has been as a solution architect. I got my start working in creating and building local area networks in a wide area network for a small company that had 4 sites in California. Since then, I've helped design and collaborate on the building of enterprise infrastructure architecture for some of the major service providers. And over that time, I've also been fortunate enough to mentor many of my colleagues and also friends and family members that are interested in technology. So that's something I really enjoy a lot is mentoring people that want to tap into my experience. But most of that is that I do love talking with the customers and solving their business problems. I mean, that's what I really enjoy the most.
I love that, and that's enterprise architecture. So, could you give me an example of some of the big enterprise architecture projects you worked on? Don't mention the company names. I'm sure you're under NDA.
Sure. So I've been involved in projects in which we were working with an existing company that wants to outsource their services because they no longer want to spend the capital to maintain a data center. So then we go in and we evaluate and we assess their applications and all their hardware and software, and then we make a recommendation for moving those out to in this case it was data centers that were hosted by the service provider I was working for. So we would move their applications over there and we would determine if we were going to do lifts and shifts or other kinds of migration of their data. And after that, but then we would take over support of that. So that type of migration is something that I've been involved with a lot in my career.
Love that. Could you give me some benefits, some pros and cons of lift and shift versus rechanging the applications completely to replatform them?
Oh, sure. Well, if lift and shift is an option, it's actually the easiest option. It means that you essentially either pick up a hardware device in a server and you ship it to another location and you stand it up there and turn it on. You might have to do some changes like IP changes and other configurations like that, but essentially you're not reinstalling the application, which sometimes is like the toughest part of that entire migration. However, if the hardware is too old or you have software that's end of life, you might be in a position where you need to do a different approach. You can't do a lift and shift. So in that case, you might be doing something where you do it like a greenfield, where you install a new operating system in a new location, and you have the existing environment operating in the old environment, and you get to build a new one in parallel and install the application from scratch and then cut it over at some time. There are other flavors of that. Using cloning technology, you can do things like stand up a new if you're talking about virtual servers, you can go to a new destination, a new location, and create a new virtual machine. But you can replicate the data over from one place to the other easily using some technology in that way. So those are just some of the examples of that you would use for migrating an application. And to answer your question directly, as far as lift and shift, the biggest advantage to that is time and the complexity because you're essentially moving something rather than building it from scratch.
Are there any other strong advantages to using lift and shift? From a business agility perspective, business continuity perspective, performance perspective?
Well, as far as advantages, the one thing that comes to mind is if you're doing a lift and shift and you're in cases where we've had like a clustered environment, we were able to do a lift and shift of one node at a time, keeping the application up the entire time, and bringing up the new node in the new environment, and essentially having a method to do a migration of an application without any downtime, because you're managing the clusters in that way across two data centers, or like a WAN cluster. So that's one advantage that I can think of. In addition to the fact that you don't have to recreate the application or the configuration, because some of the most complex piece of it has been that over time you've had people install an application and those people may not be around anymore. It was installed years ago, so there's a lot of customization that is built in that would have to be reverse engineered if you were to try to build it from scratch.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. If I re-architect my application and put it in a data center, and then the cloud provider says to me, I don't like your business, and kicks them out, and the cloud provider's done this, what's the advantage of having a virtual doing lift and shift versus re-architecting?
Well, lift and shift means that you haven't used proprietary technology in the provider's data center. So by doing a lift and shift, you can take your intellectual property and move it somewhere else a lot easier than if you were to use some proprietary technologies and other things inside the data center, which essentially ties you to them, and requires a lot of additional expense if you wanted to move it to another vendor.
Okay. So at this point, you said you started out in networking. I love networking. So let's say you want to connect to AWS or Azure, and let's say you need, what do you call it, a specific amount of latency. What type of WAN technologies would be appropriate in this?
So if you want a specific latency and performance between your data center and a cloud provider, then you would be looking at a direct link of some type, and then managing the traffic over that direct link over at least two links, so you have some fault tolerance and some other things you can do to distribute traffic using a protocol like BGP. But that would be a direct link would be the answer to your question, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. A direct link is one of the best options we can use. There's a couple of other elite new options as well. But the good key is you knew that it wasn't a VPN. Love that. So if we connect to two links to the internet and we don't use BGP, how many active links can we have at the same time?
If you don't use BGP?
If we don't use BGP, if we put a default route on two links, how many links are actually going to be used going to the internet?
Mike, I am not sure. I would have to know more specific about maybe what protocol and how exactly that's being set up.
Okay.
I can give you a description on how it would be done using BGP, and it would probably be some similar techniques you would use that. But again, there's a specific question. I'm not sure how to answer that specific question. But if I was in a position where I needed to find out, I would find out really fast. I would reach out to colleagues that know it, or do my own research. And essentially, that's what I do today in my job. When I reach any situation where I don't know what to do, I reach out to my colleagues and we get them together and we find out how to do it. And I learn it real quickly.
Love that answer. The whole point is building your team of experts. So what do you think is critical to building your team of experts?
It's knowing what disciplines you need. So, for example, if you were going to looking at an application and assessing whether you can migrate it to a different place, whether it's another data center or the cloud, then you need to look at the components of the application. It's got a web service on it, so knowing what type of web server is running on it, whether it's IIS or another Apache or something like that. And then if there's a database, whether it's SQL or Oracle, then you need a DBA in those instances. And if depending on the operating system and what kind of clustering technology is used, you're going to need somebody that knows things about that, the operating system and the clustering technology. And if you're using back-end storage, you're going to need a storage engineer. And so as you analyze what components make up the application and what technologies, you start assembling the subject matter experts that you need to ask them and get their advice on, what do they recommend for would be the best way to move an application like this. And for something like Oracle and SQL, is there any built-in tools we can use to migrate the data, or do they recommend that we port it another way or use some other tool? and as I mentioned before, for operating systems that we're migrating, if we're not doing a lift and shift, then I'm looking at cloning technologies like double take or VMware has some other technologies as well that will help us put together the overall plan. So, and those are the people that you build on the team, and of course networking. I didn't mean to neglect the network, but that's actually the most important foundational part of going to another location, because you have to determine what type of network architecture is in an existing application. Is it sitting on a secure subnet that's more secure than others, depending on the data? Is it do they use different subnets to separate the application from the database? And then when you go to the new location, you try to mirror that same architecture and ensure that you keep those same segregation points on the network. So then by doing that analysis on the application, you find out which disciplines you need as part of your team to put together that plan.
Okay. Why should I hire you?
Well, Mike, you should hire me because I have a big technology background. I'm incredibly competent in the things that I've been doing over the course of my career. I'm a good leader of people, and I think I mentioned before that I like mentoring and sharing information, and I love learning from others as well. I'm highly energetic. I'm motivated, and if there's something I need to know how to do for a customer, I will find out how to do it, and I will get it done. That's the thing you can know about me, is I'll get the job done. So I'll meet whatever needs that you're going to have in any project that you may have as part of your organization. And I think that by the energy that I bring in, I like to think that I bring out the best in others. And again, I use that as I like collaborating with others to also have them bring out the best in me. So I think all those things are the factors I think will make me successful in this role, Mike.
Okay, great. Let's go over this for a little bit. Feels to me like you've been working as an engineer for a long period of time. Have you spent a lot of time doing engineering?
Yes, I have. It's a hybrid role, not quite architecture, not quite engineering, but it's a hybrid role right in between those.
The reason I say this is I was focusing more on business pieces, and you kept hitting the technology. The point with the lift and shift is it's fast. Take your virtual machine and migrate it to the cloud. It facilitates multi-cloud architectures in a much simpler manner than other cloud native architectures.
Okay.
It's better for business continuity planning, because if, for example, a cloud provider kicks you out, like Parler was kicked out on one of the cloud providers, basically shut them down. If they had something that was virtual machine based, lift and shift based, they could have been on 3 clouds or back in their data center in 15 minutes. Now let's talk about performance.
Okay.
Cloud native is kind of like going to McDonald's and getting a hamburger. It's going to come out the same way every time. Lift and shift, you can make it anything you need to, so you got much better performance. Now, when I asked you to compare it to the cloud native, it enables businesses to basically almost forget about managing their technology, which gives them better agility, better speed, and potentially lower costs over the long term. Instead of focusing on the tech, focus on the transformation.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of the networking stuff was a little weak. For example, if we have T-Drive default routes, we can only use one of them. So I'd say a little more knowledge on BGP.
Okay.
And I love that you built the team, but I asked you, how do you build the team? And you told me the tech people that you needed on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I was more looking at the business pieces, because as architects, we don't talk about that. So I was looking at more of what was necessary to build that team from a leadership perspective. But here's the thing. You may have still passed on a solution architect interview, but my standard's a little higher. You probably would pass on a solution architect interview. I would have liked a little bit more directness about why I should hire you. You had it all there, and it was good. Now, what I do like, which would get you hired in most cases, you're very likable, extremely competent, and you basically make me feel trust. And that's what I need to see as a hiring manager. So it's very good, but I want it to be perfect for you.
Okay. I've taken careful notes. I'm going to work on those things.
Very good.
I took notes the last time we met, so I've just a continuous improvement for me. So really appreciate
very
the
good
feedback.
Job. I don't want you to be a regular good solution architect. I want you to be the world's greatest.
Thanks.
Good job, Oscar.
I appreciate your time, Mike. Thank you.
All right. Good job, Oscar. All right, so let's hear from Oscar in the chat box there, everybody. And we'll bring in the next one.
Yeah, hashtag Oscar.
Hashtag Oscar. I like that. Cloud Oscar. I like that better. Hashtag Cloud Oscar.
Yeah.
All right. So let's bring in our next one. Let me see here. So our next one is Barth. So let me remove myself. And Barth, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Hi, Barth.
Hello, Mike.
How are you today? Before we begin anything, just tell me your biggest strengths and so I know how to guide the interview.
Okay, so my biggest strength is related to load balancers, storages, and those concepts.
Okay.
But I can talk.
Infrastructure. I love infrastructure.
Yeah, I can talk
Infrastructure
about
is the heart of it all. So now I know exactly what to ask you, which, by the way, is what I think is most important. So let's go down to this. So, Barth, tell me about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Barth, and I'm a cloud architect. I have more than 7 years of experience, and what I'm focusing is in business transformation, how to do transformation through technology. I have experience working with talking with different department heads, assessing their needs, designing solutions that are high scalable and high available, presenting and selling solutions that will bring real value to the customers.
Wonderful. So let's talk about load balancers for a minute. What's the main purpose of a load balancer?
Okay, so the main purpose of the load balancers is improve the performance and the availability by eliminating single points of failure.
Love that, Barth. One of the most concise and crisp answers I've ever heard. Now, when would I use a network load balancer versus an application load balancer?
Great question, Mike. Network load balancers are used when we need to be fast. And application load balancers, by the other hand, we need to use when we need to be smart.
What if we need speed and intelligence at the same time? What could we do?
We can use a network load balancer, and after that, we can use the application load balancer. And by doing that, we will have the greatnesses of the both worlds. We will have the fast, we will be fast and smart.
Love that. Really do. So let's talk about storage. Could you tell me about when I would use block storage versus object storage?
Yeah, block storage we want to use when is largely used in the cloud computing because of the fact that can be decoupled from the server. So you can have your server here and your block storage miles away. The other fact about the block storage is that it's the fastest hard drive that we can get on the cloud, even though it's slow compared to a physical one. The object storage is used usually when we need to write once and read many. Is used for software distribution purpose and backup as well. The main key of the object storage is the metadata. That is data about data. And this can be beneficial in the machine learning as well. And another fact about the object storage is when you change a file, always a new version is created.
Love that, Barth. Wow. Now, I heard you and you were totally correct. Block storage is the fastest on the cloud, but relatively slow compared to what we can buy at the store. If we needed to get a minimum of 1 million IOPS, which at the store we can get for about $100 at a local Best Buy in an NVMe drive, what do we have to do in the cloud to make that happen?
we need to use RAIDs. The fastest hard drive that we can get on the cloud is 200,050. So to achieve the 1 million IOPS, we need to use RAID 0. Using RAID 0, we will get the performance that we need. But this is enough. This isn't enough. We are lacking the redundancy. So then we need to use the RAID 10. Using RAID 10, we will have the performance and the redundancy that we need.
Well, Barth, I'm really impressed with your technology acumen. What are your goals 5 years from now? Where would you like to be?
I want to be an enterprise architect because what I love to do is do business transformation. So what I'm focusing right now is improving my soft skills, because soft skills is one of the greatest things that we can improve to become better in this career.
Why should I hire you, Barth?
You should hire me because I'm very energetic, very enthusiastic. I am a go-to person, and I know how to bring the best on others. If I was part of your team, I can help the company, the customers, and I can help you, Mike, to be more successful.
You have any questions for me, Barth?
Sorry?
Do you have any questions for me, Barth?
Okay, if I was part of your team, what do you expect from me?
I would expect you to delight the customers with a great experience, have meticulous attention to detail, and be a great team player and really go above and beyond what's needed. Would you be willing to do that?
For sure, Mike.
Okay, everybody give Barth a Cloud Hired in the chat, in LinkedIn. I'm sorry, in YouTube. Barth, that was absolutely perfect. Let's go through that. You were crisp and you were concise. You literally, in a language that's not your own, managed to be more precision than I would get out of 99% of the population. Incredible. You knew what you knew. You explained it well. Crisply and clearly. You hit all the points that I would care about as a hiring manager. You were 100% likable. Honestly, that was perfect. Perfect. Now, the only thing that you didn't do there, which I would encourage you in real life, make sure the camera is facing you directly and you're looking into the camera.
Okay.
You kind of look like you're at an angle, and at one point you were tilting your head to one side, which many people do when they're nervous. So I try to pay attention to that if you can. We all do something goofy when they're nervous, so don't worry about it. My hands go all over the place. Then again, I'm from the Mediterranean, from Greece, so these things do happen. But great job. I mean, that was what I was hoping for. That was basically perfect. I don't think there's a single employer you could walk into with that wouldn't have hired you on the spot. They wouldn't have put you through the paces. They would have been so excited. They went, oh my God, I need that person on my team.
Thank you, Mike.
Great job, Barth. Well, Barth, I got to tell you, I know where you get your training, and apparently you've paid attention to what we teach in class. Thrilled by that, Barth. Thrilled.
Thank you.
I'm really happy with that. That's excellent.
All right. I think Mike's happy with that one. So congrats, good job, Barth. Lots of good comments coming in for you. So thank you for taking part in this with us today, and definitely can't wait to see you Cloud Hired.
Can't wait.
And definitely can't wait to do an interview with you after you've been hired. And definitely can't wait to do a career check-in with you after you've been working. So, all right. So make sure you join us over on YouTube when you leave here, Barth.
And Barth, that's really important. Here's why. As it's stated in The Art of War, know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll always be victorious. Know yourself, but not your enemy. For every one win, there's one loss. Know your enemy and not yourself. For every one win, there's there's one loss. No, not yourself or not your enemy, you always lose. So awesome. But I still want you to take The Art of War into consideration.
And how long have you been in the program, Barth? I know you joined over the summer sometime, I think.
3 months.
3 months. Wow.
So
I
you
know
were in our
you've, I know
program,
you've
and
been
you're
very,
actually.
you've been very diligent. I know I've seen that. So
And what was your last job before this?
Yeah, I'm working as a cloud architect in one of the biggest consulting companies
Okay.
in the world.
all right.
A great job.
All right. So our next one will be Marabou. I believe I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, let me know.
I think he's muted.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself. There we go. All right. Can you hear us, Marabou?
Yes,
All right. Well, I will let you.
Hi, Mara, but out of curiosity, where are you right now? What part of the world?
I am in Texas, Dallas Forward.
Fantastic. I wasn't sure if you were local or elsewhere, but love that. Before we begin, can you tell me your biggest strengths? Because architecture is so big, so I want to focus on you.
Yes, I have customer service background.
Excellent.
Yes, we can talk about load balance and CloudFront.
Well,
Uh,
we'll get into some things, lots of different things, but I wanted to know your strength. And customer service in the architect world is huge. Huge. I feel like half of the time I'm a relationship manager as an architect. So that's really great. So now we'll begin. Marabou, could you tell me about yourself?
yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about myself. My name is Mirabo Gupe Gamba. I have more than 12 year I have more than 12-year customer service experience, and I'm certified cloud solution architect. Now I'm working with Go Cloud Carrier to improve my skill and get ready to work. And I want to work with a company who can give me opportunity to improve my skill, to learn more, and to give me opportunity after a long time to get more responsibility.
Okay, when did you start with Go Cloud Careers out of curiosity?
I start in September.
Okay, so you're brand new. So that's great. So tell me about yourself, Marabou.
My name is Mirabo Ngupengamba. I have more than 12-year customer service experience. Learning with the Go Cloud career to learn to get more skill and get ready to work. And I wanted to work like Go Cloud, cloud architect by presenting, selling, and design cloud solution.
Okay, sounds good to me. You said you had a customer service background, which is very interesting to me.
Yes.
As architects in our firm do a lot of relationship management. How do you deal with an unsatisfied customer?
To deal with unsatisfied customer, the first thing to do is to listen clearly the complaint of the customer. Calm down the customer because unsatisfied customer sometimes is aggressive. You need to calm down the customer by using the order, are you okay? Are you okay? And then, like I said before, you listen carefully the complaint of the customer and write down everything. If you are able to to solve the problem, you can do it by asking the customer if he's satisfied. If you are not able to do it, just write it down and escalate to the technical support, and they will take care and solve the problem. And then make sure after solving the problem, you can call the customer to make sure that he's really satisfied. If it's not, you just escalate the same problem and make sure the customer service solve the problem.
I love that. So let's say you're an architect for me, and this happens all the time. We go on a sales call. We've got our sales executive, our architect, and we usually have an engineer. And in the meeting, the engineer starts babbling all this tech stuff. And the management team looks like they have two heads. And then they get frustrated and kick us out of the meeting. And we want to go reschedule that meeting. How would you address making that customer happy and showing them that we care about them and you are the escalation point? Unless you have to go to a VP or a senior VP to bring them with you. What would you do?
I didn't get the question clearly because the network was freezing.
Let's say I have a customer that's frustrated.
Yes.
And they're frustrated because the last meeting went poorly.
Yes.
You're the architect and you own the relationship.
Yeah.
How would you reach out to the executive? How would you find time with them? And what would you do to manage that relationship? Because with your customer service experience, I think that could be very helpful with the kind of challenges we have.
At that time, I need to get back to the customer. I need to get back to the customer to make sure if everything's all right. If it's not, I will take my book note and everything. I write down exactly what the customer needs. Maybe in the meeting, the customer didn't explain clearly, or the technician, because technicians, they are not at work, they don't know exactly how to manage the customer. They don't know, they just want to, they don't want the job, their job done. They don't know exactly how the attitude to manage the customer. I write down everything, and now I organize the extra meeting with the technical, and my supervisor, and then we write down exactly, we need to take care exactly of the complaint of that customer, and then we organize a net meeting with the customer to let them know exactly what's going on, why we decide, and what's the real problem. And then if the customer is agree, I will implement the new solution.
Okay, makes sense. So tell me about a load balancer, what it is, how it works, and why we should use one.
Load balance is the distribution of the traffic by checking the health, and by checking the traffic is healthy. If traffic is fast, and the load balancing have the advantage to minimize the cost, because if the traffic is fast, we minimize the cost by getting the profit. And the load balancer have another advantage, that is it help to increase rentability.
Okay, sounds good. I have a WAN link between two locations,
Yes.
between the data center and the cloud. The IP address is 192.168.2.17.
Yes.
The 2.16, not 2.17. So 192.168.2.17. Where does that subnet begin? Where does that subnet end? And what are the two usable addresses?
I don't have the answer of that question for now, and I will work on it, and then I'll come back to you to give you the right answer you give me time.
Okay. Now, why should I hire you?
You hire me because I'm I can bring smart. I can help your business grow up by bringing my experience, my customer experience. I will make all your customer who are already in the system to to stay by taking care of them. I will.
Okay, keep going.
Yes.
So, okay, let's talk about this one, Maribel. First, you've only had 1 month of training. So, good start.
Yes.
6 months from now, wow, you're going to be rock solid. I'm going to start first with the things that are not related to the interview that are going to determine how much respected you get, and then we're going to get into the tech pieces and the business pieces. You did a lot of sliding forward and backward during the interview, which takes away from the message you're trying to do. We all get stressed, especially on camera. So try to do some of the box breathing in the course or some of the meditation, or find some way to stay calm. Two, as I realize English is not your primary language, it's French, right?
Yes.
You did great speaking another language that was not yours. Totally impressed with that. How many years have you spent learning English?
I am in US for 7 years now.
You're from Cameroon, I would assume, with your French
Yeah,
accent?
Cameroon, French side.
You sounded more Cameroonian, but I never assume. A lot of work we need to do on the load balancers. That's okay. You've only been with us a month. Imagine where you're going to be in 6 months. Barth's been us with 3 months. At some point, Chal's going to go. She's been with us for about a year, and we need to see what she sounds like. At least I can assume. I have no idea, but I know Chal pretty well. But so good on that. You went in there aggressively and tried it. I love that. When I tried to leverage your customer service experience, I wanted to see if you could take it from the customer service background to the executive that you'll be as an architect. Well, Mike, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the executive. I'm going to try and figure out what they like, take them to dinner, take them to drinks, take them golfing, whatever it is. And then I'm going to go in there with you don't have supervisors at your level. Most architects are director levels. I'm going to go in there with my VP. I'm going to make sure that I can bring you all the resources that you need to make sure you receive the service that you need. So bring it up a level. Your knowledge of how to deal with an unhappy customer was perfect, by the way. But now we're going to raise it a level. It's a little bit of work there. A little bit more executive presence. Make a point, pause, make your next point, pause, vary your vocal tone. But you've only had 1 month of training. And for that, I think you did great. So give it some time. None of us were born architects. I wasn't born knowing how to practice internal medicine. I sure wasn't born a network architect. I sure wasn't born an enterprise architect. It's all about training. So Maribel, great job.
Thank you.
And the toughness in you, that warrior spirit that's here with 1 month of training, doing this, I know you're going to be successful.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great job, Maribel. I love the card. Love everything about it. Please keep watching because I want you to learn more things. And this could be a great educational opportunity.
All right. Thank you,
Everybody,
Maribel.
hashtag Maribel.
Thank you.
I mean, 1 month of training, and he's out there trying to volunteer. We should be proud of him.
Exactly. I'm excited by that.
Me too.
Yep. Yeah, as a lot of people have said, keep coming and keep showing up and turn on your camera and take part in class and do all the good stuff. And it won't take you very long. Thank you again, Maribel. Let's get a cloud hired for Maribel in the chat box.
Please, let's give him a cloud hired because once he's fully trained, he will be.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to take you off of here and you can join us over on YouTube so you can watch the rest of the people, Maribel.
Okay.
All right. All right. So our next one gets a drum roll. I wish I had a drum roll, but yeah. Here we go. Drum roll.
Ciao.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chow. So everybody, Chow was one of my students. She signed up with us about a year ago. We love Chow, and I'm super excited for you to interview with us today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Mike.
So, Chow, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Mike. I am a highly energetic, highly motivated person. I have a strong background in customer service. Since last year, I have been working as a cloud architect at Go Cloud Careers. I had experience leading team meetings and collaborate with multiple cross-functional team members to design cloud-based solutions. Our clients include but not limited to big financial firms, healthcare clients, as well as retail businesses. I have a strong work ethic and I always go above and beyond to fulfill my responsibility to the highest standard possible. I believe I will be a great asset to your team, helping you achieve all the goals you have in the near future.
Well, Chow, that's absolutely fantastic. I heard you at Go Cloud Architects now for a year. I know they're graduates. I've seen them at AWS, Microsoft, Apple, um, JP Morgan Chase. I've seen a lot of them, for example, at Accenture, Deloitte, Barrington, and Capgemini. So I'm going to push it a little harder on you because you've been there for about a year. I'm not going to take it easy on you.
Thank you, Mike.
So, Chow, could you tell me how to secure a web application from the outside if security is critical?
Thank you for the question. If I understand you correctly, you want me to describe how I'm gonna secure an environment of web application on in the cloud environment.
Absolutely. Enterprise robust security is if it's critical.
Okay. So for enterprise environment, you had to start off with a content delivery network to protect your system from the DDoS attack or distributed denial of service attack. Right after the content delivery network, I will have load balancer, load balance between multiple network next generation firewall. And right after the next generation firewall, which filter out the unwanted traffic trying to get to your system. Right after that, I will have load balancer to load balance between the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system. But that is not enough. I will go further and will add in the network access control list to protect your subnet. And right after that, I will add on security group to actually protect your virtual machines. And to the actual system, I will do more host-based firewall, anti-malware, patching when I need it, and turn off any not needed service so that I can protect my system to the best. Um, and then I will use some kind of authentication service such as identity and access management of AWS or Microsoft Active Directory to authenticate, to authorize, authenticate, and account what happened in my system. I will also use key management system to encrypt the data in my system. And last but not least, I also will make sure I have the right training for the people of my employee to make sure that we have the right change management going on, as well as prevent them from being attacked by phishing or social engineering.
Well, Chow, it's clear to me you're incredibly competent. I'm not going to ask you any more technology questions at this point, but I'm going to ask you a little bit more on the business side to make sure you've got the business acumen. Could you tell me what is cloud computing in simple words that an executive like a CEO like me could understand?
Thank you, Mike. Cloud computing is the deliver of the internet computing service over the internet on the pay-as-you-go basis. So you only pay for the compute. You only pay for the compute that you use, and it's available and ready to go within minutes.
Is it a data center or something like that?
You rent that data center service, so you don't actually have to buy the data center yourself, but you rent it.
Okay, I get that, and I love that. So I really like that. Let's talk about communication skills and leadership skills. Have you ever led a team of a certain number of people and put them together and coached them and guided them?
Yes, at Go Cloud Career, I have had chance to lead team meeting which contain more than 100 people, come from different background. Our team member can come from India, Canada, Vietnam, or most of them are from here in the US, and they have different functions such as cloud architect or cloud engineer, and different team member that have different strengths. And I use my knowledge of knowing who has what strength to build a strong team. So when I have a strong team, I will know how to utilize the strength of each of the person to be able to come up with the best design that can satisfy my customer business requirement.
Okay, I've got no further questions, Chow. You brought me to tears. You've grown so much in the last year. My super Chow is going to be leaving the nest, working for someone else very soon. Chow, I couldn't even get through that interview. You totally blew me away. You totally impressed me, and I'm so excited about your future.
Thank you so much, Mike. I'm trying not to cry here, but
When I watched you in that first class to where I see you now, I couldn't be prouder, more excited, or happier about what I just saw. I'm totally blown away. I don't drink, but I'm going to be drinking I'm going to go take my wife out to dinner. I'll make sure we get a bottle of Silver Oak, which is something that I drink once every 3 years. But I'm so excited, Chow. Beyond impressed, and I'm going to need a minute or two to basically recover before we get to the next one.
thank you so much, and thank you so much for creating such an amazing community. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you and the program.
Well, Chow, I'm just blown away. I'm honored and privileged to be able to know you, be able to have worked with you, and wow, what a year did for you. I'm truly amazed, Chow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's give everybody a super Chow in YouTube and that chat box. Let's give Chow a definitely cloud hired. And let's all thank Chow for delivering a rock star, solid performance here.
Oh.
1 year in our program, right?
Yes. October 24 will be exactly 1 year. But before this, I had zero technology knowledge. I was trying to get a help desk job. But thank God I found Mike. He saved me.
While we're at it, super Chow. Well, Shana, we don't even need to mention. I was going to ask people what your last job was that you were actually doing, but we don't need to go there. But the point is totally impressive, super amazing. That's not coming out of certification knowledge. She's a rock star architect. Good job, Chow.
Thank you so much.
And English is not your primary language either.
I tried my best.
Well, you did a little more than your best. You did exceptional.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Chris, before I cry hysterically.
I'm not wanting to come on here. Because if I come on here, that means that we're one step closer to her leaving.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But you know, I will never forget you guys. I will always come back to contribute more and helping out more people get cloud hired.
And that's what it's all about. That's what I was telling Yvonne last night on on the web show that's what it's about. Pretty much every single person that has gotten hired in this program is still helping other people in the program, and so.
And we don't interview most people, Chow, because it's our job getting people hired. But we're gonna have to interview you because I don't know. I'm just beyond excited, Chow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I still got all these comments to get through, so keep talking. There's so many comments, but it is amazing. I remember when I started working with Chow, not when Chow started the program, but even because I'll be honest for you, Chow, you weren't 100% on board for a while. You know, I'll tell everybody in the world, you were kind of half butting it out there.
And
I can't remember what it was that you said. There was something that I think it was actually hearing other people sharing their experience. I don't remember what you said it was that you were like, okay, now I got to do it. This, I know I can do it because of this. And I can't remember what it was.
yeah, so for almost my 1 year of being here at Go Cloud, I actually gave up once or twice. I show up for the live class for the first whole month, but things didn't start to click for me. And I was thinking, okay, the people in the program are all senior and they're so smart, and there's no way that I can understand this all, and maybe this is not for me. So I tried to branch out on myself, and I was thinking maybe after I do one certification on my own, then I will be a little bit smarter. But Mike reached out to me on LinkedIn and he asked me, "Oh, how everything is doing? Are you doing okay?" And I just honestly tell him what was going on with me, and I tell him I feel unqualified to even show up for the live class because I don't understand what is going on at all. But he said, "You can definitely prepare on your own. However, if you come back and let us help you, you will get there faster." And that's true. And since then, I haven't missed any class, even though I go to Vietnam and we have a 12-hour difference. I take class at 3 in the morning.
But while all at the same time helping other people in the program get through the program.
So much so that I hired Chow as like a teaching assistant to help me and deal with things. And look at her. Oh my God, Chow, I'm just beyond excited.
And for that, Mike, I have a lot of the people in the program reach out to me and tell me how much I have grown since I work for you. I wouldn't have been this good if I don't work for you. I learned a lot. I learned about what I should say and what I should not say, and what to look for in a job interview, and how to be an actual good candidate. I learn and grow a lot, and I'm really thankful for this job opportunity, Mike.
Well, I'm just impressed. I'm just grateful to know you, Chow. And the eagle is going to leave the nest, and we will miss you, but we're thrilled for you at the same time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, Chow. I guess I'll let you go.
Thank you. We'll be watching.
All right. Thank you. Great job, Chow. And anybody that hasn't done so already, leave a comment in the chat box.
1 year in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and wow.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next person. And Lady Godiva, you've been hesitant to do this, but Chow has given me inspiration. Yes, Lady Godiva, and anyone else. We're doing another one of these next month.
If I can do it, you can do it too. I didn't know anything about this about a year ago, but I grow. With hard work and dedication, you can do it too. You know, put in the hard work. It will be all worth it.
Sounds like an interview session coming up. All right.
Sure does.
We'll be doing a Cloud Hired interview with you soon.
very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. All right. So, it's so real. We're so
And
close.
somebody asked in the chat box if what is the name of the program. If somebody can provide a link to that and a coupon code of some kind.
Yeah. Leo, if you can take care of sharing the link with the coupon code. And I guess I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Since it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we're going to be doing a discount code for that. I guess I'll go ahead and make it active while we're on the.
Make the discount code active. I want everybody to get the cheapest price possible.
Yeah.
It's all about changing lives at the lowest cost possible for me.
Yeah. So give me a few minutes. I have to log in and go make the discount code active. We weren't going to make it active until next week. But yeah, so we will have discount code security. We'll be eligible for 30% off of our content. So give me a few minutes, anybody, and I'll make that active. I'll have Leo share that in the chat box for everybody.
Thanks.
But back to me and my tears that I'm not going to cry about how close we are to Chow leaving. Man, that's something else. All right, let's bring in the next one, and then I'll go off camera and cry, and we'll bring in Jason here. All right, there we go. Hey, Jason.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, Jason. I love that thing in your background. Actually, that's pretty cool. Is that like a sun and the moon together?
Yep.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Before we begin, I forget, what is your background?
I've done mostly like point of sale. I ran our office here in Arizona for close to 20 years. So I was general manager. I did deployments, hiring, training, management of that.
Okay. A good, strong leadership background.
Yes.
Good. That's what we need most, actually. So, Jason, tell me about yourself.
Thanks, Mike. I've been working in technology for well over 20 years. I've ran a local office here in Arizona and made sure that the employees, the customers, and everything was working together and everybody was happy. In the past few years, I've kind of transitioned more into the cloud. I've had a role as solutions architect, which was mostly just local infrastructure.
Okay, local infrastructure. I love infrastructure. How much of the infrastructure was the network?
A little bit. We did quite a few just either upgrading end-of-life firewalls, adding new firewalls, high availability. We did some. I worked on a few projects that did some stack switches.
Okay. One of the key things for me is that a cloud architect can explain the technology to terms that executives can understand. So today, I'm just the CEO, which I am, but I don't have any of my 25 years experience as an architect. So could you tell me what cloud computing is in 2 minutes or less?
Thanks, Mike. Yes. So cloud computing is the ability to have resources not locally. It would be in the cloud, and it's used as pay-as-you-go or as you need it. And it's highly agile. It's scalable.
Okay, so I'm a business executive. I don't know what any of that means. Could you really tell me what it is in like 1 minute or less?
It's having the ability to have resources at your fingertips when you need it, as you need it, and you pay as you go.
What are resources?
It can be anywhere from storage. It can be an application to get something done. It can be any number of things.
Okay. Well, we're just going to work with that.
Okay.
Could you tell me why I would use a next generation firewall over something like an AWS WAF or the Azure equivalent or the Google equivalent?
Absolutely. So with the next generation firewall, you're going to get higher security in terms of having a IDS, intrusion protection and detection systems in there. They are also have the ability of self-healing. They will look at the traffic as it comes through and be able to alert the team if there is something that did get through or did get harmed or did something. It will be able to address it, self-heal, and
Okay. So I'm going to work with that. So in my data center, I'm going to have somebody screw in 2 high availability firewalls into a rack. Can we do that in the cloud?
you're not going to screw it in, but you can have, using, the different marketplaces, you can have 2 different firewalls in there and have a load balancer or something in front of them to balance the load between them, or, an active passive type scenario. Yes.
Okay, good. What technology do these firewalls reside on in the cloud?
Thanks, Mike. What technology do they reside on? Like, are you asking?
Are they hardware firewalls, or what are they?
Oh, they're going to be running on a hypervisor of some sort, depending on what cloud that you're going to be using. So it'll be a virtual machine of a specific vendor that's going to give you an image that will be loaded on, whether it's an EC2 instance or Azure virtual machine, something like that.
Okay, so in a virtual machine, good. Now, what do I have to do to lock down a server, for example, so it doesn't get hacked?
Are we assuming that all the network stuff is in place?
Oh, everything is done just on the server itself.
Just on the server?
Just on the server. Everything else is taken care of.
Okay. We want to harden the operating system. We want to make sure that there's no unneeded services, access. We want to make sure that there's malware, antivirus on there. The users are locked down. We'll have either some sort of key management or single sign-on or something that's going to be there that'll be employing like an MFA type thing. So only the true people that have access to it can get access to it.
Okay, good. But all right, we'll work on that. Now, why would putting a Bastion host most likely get you fired? It's taught in all these certification courses, but why would it most likely get the cloud architect fired?
You're opening a way to get into your network on the internet. You have this device that it's meant to be connected remotely on like a DMZ that's open to the network, the internet, that has access to your private.
What would make a Windows virtual machine less secure than, say, a Palo Alto VPN concentrator?
Less secure. Palo Alto does security. I mean, they are extremely hardened. They have the security processes. They've been doing it for many, many years. Windows does not have that capability that, Palo Alto next generation firewall is going to provide. There's just, even whether if it's on premise or in the cloud, they're kind of 2 different animals.
So how would you create a secure remote access environment?
So I'd need to know, what are your requirements? Is latency important? Is speed, like, is it, you need to have it up and running tomorrow? Or
I want to get it up and running tomorrow, and I want a high security remote access solution.
Okay.
I could be done in 15 minutes with the right people.
We would need to be looking at doing like a VPN. We're going to have to make sure that we have a next generation firewall to accept the communication. We would do either an IPsec or, if we're coming from our local data center, local user, Active Directory with single sign-on through the VPN. And that can be set up same day.
Okay. And why should I hire you?
Hardworking. I'm definitely there to get the job done. I've been working with a lot of different clients over the years, and I understand what would be good for the business and also the client. And I enjoy making designs that will ultimately help the customer and help the business.
Okay, so let's go through this. Some of it went really well. Some of it didn't. Tell me about yourself was strong. The why I should hire you was strong. The business rationale of the cloud. If you just told me the cloud is just a network and data center that's virtualized, I would have known you knew the cloud inside and out. But when it sounded like it came out of this and service that and resource this, it sounded like you were certified, but you really didn't understand the cloud.
Okay.
So when you understand something, as Albert Einstein says, if you understand something well enough, you can explain, and if you can't explain it well enough, learn a little more. So I need you a little more knowledge of what the cloud. So go build the cloud and really learn servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestrations and storage area networks, because that part was the weak part. Now, when I asked you how to lock down the system, you talked about authentication. I was looking for removing unnecessary patches, unnecessary services, removing packages from the operating system, those kind of things, host-based firewalls, host-based IDS, IPS stuff. Now, you did realize that a Bastion host was a basically backdoor into your system. And when I said, what's the difference between Palo Alto and this, I would have really put on that Palo Alto makes their operating system themselves. It's a custom Linux. It's a hardened Linux. It's removed 80% of the nonsense that's unnecessary. And they have a team of security experts that know how to lock down systems. Where a Bastion host is typically made by somebody that doesn't know security. They're just locking it down themselves. And they don't know what to do. Now, you did start to mention the demilitarized zone, which I really, really, really liked. Then I asked you, how do you do remote access? And I was hoping that you would say, look, what you do is you create a demilitarized zone. First thing you do is you put your next generation firewall out there, or 2 of them with the network load balancer. Then you create a specific subnet for your VPN concentrator. Then what you do is allow through the firewall only IPsec traffic. Then additionally, after you allow the IPsec traffic in, you're going to have an access list and all these other things to limit your things. And then you hit the VPN concentrator. Now, from the VPN concentrator, then we could use a Bastion host, or we could go directly into the systems, but I missed all the pieces and parts.
Okay.
So for that, those would be the kind of things that I was really looking forward to. Those kind of security components, which I think you actually know. I think you know them, but you didn't explain it. I didn't know that you knew them.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how deep you wanted to go for some of that.
So the key is, if you can explain it simply like Chow just did, the interview was over right then and there.
Yeah,
So I like to give people the opportunity to basically shut it down really fast with a little bit of depth.
Okay.
So, good job, Jason. Better than 80% of what I've seen out there. Truthfully, I've interviewed 6,000 people in my life, and that's better than 80%.
Thank you.
I want 99%. Percentile for everybody. So good job. Very good start. And in a couple of months, I think you're going to be exactly where you need to be, because you got a lot of good background there.
Okay. Thank you.
A lot of background. And some of it's you've been working in tech, most likely more hands-on tech things for a while.
Yep.
And going from hands-on tech and configuring, which I know you did a lot of, to the actual designing and explaining the design, that's kind of what we're talking about.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So let's get a cloud hired there for Jason. Now, Jason, you've been in the program a month now, or a month and a half now?
A month and a half, like 5-6 weeks.
Yeah. I love how you're able to see the kind of the differences in somebody that's been like a couple of weeks, somebody that's been a month and a half, somebody that's been 3 months over the course of these. So you can kind of see where you're going to be as long as you keep it up.
But that was good. Let's give him a cloud hire too. Let's give him let's give him a hashtag Jason. It was very good. I'm telling you, better than 80% of what I've seen. But we go from the 80th percentile to the 99th, and that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
we got the amazing Chow. We'll have the jumping Jason at some point. I don't know. I'm coming up with horrible names these days. Jumping Jack Splash. All right. Anyway, let's bring in the next one. Let's get a cloud hired in the chat box for Jason. Thank you for stepping to the plate, Jason.
And a very good start for a month and a half.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so we'll move you, and you can join us over on YouTube. All right, so let me bring in the next one. We got Fred. Is our next participant here.
I see a Stanford jacket in the background. Did you go to Stanford, Fred?
Of course not. No, no, I'm a fan. I live near Stanford, so I go to their games here and there. Watch one.
Something going on with your audio there, Fred.
Oh, let me see. Is that better?
Not really. You were very clear, and then you kind of
it started off very strong, and then
what about now? Is that better?
No.
All right. What about that?
It's almost like it's got muffled. Because it just
Is that better?
we're not back where we were.
If I move closer to the mic, is that better?
We can make it
closer.
Huh?
Can you get a little closer and speak louder?
Yeah. What about that? I'm as close to it as I can get, and I was having some issues with it when things started off.
I don't know if that's going to work, bro.
Oh, we got a couple issues here. We've got the echo. Can you click your settings?
Yeah, I'm in the settings right now. I just clicked on echo cancellation.
Got better.
Is that better?
Yes.
A lot better. Now we can work with that.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's tech.
All right.
We have to plan for it to go wrong and plan how to fix it. Part of everything. So I've got multiple computers here and 3 internet connections.
All right. So how you doing, Mike? Thanks for giving me the opportunity for coming on here and jumping into the ice water here.
Love jumping into the ice water. We're thrilled to have you here. Got a little bit of laryngitis, but I'm going to work to make it a good experience for all anyway.
All right.
Brad, what's your biggest strengths?
My biggest strengths is just the ability to communicate, the ability to listen, the ability to build rapport with people that are, let's say, CEO types.
Good.
That type of thing is, trying to project an executive presence, and just being able to try to follow through with whatever the task is, to follow through, finish it off, finish strong, that kind of thing.
Okay, so we'll give you more of that enterprisey cloud architect kind of interview, which, by the way, pays much more than the average cloud architect interview and average cloud architect salary anyway.
All right.
You've got these strengths. That's a good win. So, Fred, could you tell me about yourself?
Yeah. I come from a health information background. Spent many years in sports medicine. I know you're into sports and into and have dealt with sports medicine. But I spent many years doing that. And then I also have a slight background in SQL data development. And I got introduced to the cloud a while ago, and got really interested in it. And a friend of mine who's in your program actually is who turned me on to you, because I found myself going down that certification path, and AWS in particular. I had a friend of mine that's currently in your program that said, "Hey man, you need to check out this Mike guy." And I started listening to you, man, and I just got hooked, and I really understand, your whole ideology in regards to cloud careers, Go Cloud in particular, of trying to, attain the skill of being a multi-cloud architect to where you're not vendor locked into, into a particular clouds like AWS. So that's what kind of got me going, and I decided to join about 2 months ago, and I've been listening to you, man, and I'm just really thankful that this was suggested to me, and I just really feel like this is going to really help me to step my game up and get where I want to be eventually. So
I'm pretty interested in that sports medicine background. So what were you doing? Were you like a nurse practitioner, physician assistant, or physician? Were you a physical therapist?
No, I was a health information manager. I managed the staff for 3 different clinics and in a surgery center, and just mainly, and that's where I feel like my strong point is, because I had to deal with a lot of physicians, surgeons, as far as being able to facilitate their practice and make their practice run smoothly in the way of how they received information and how information was disseminated. And physicians and surgeons are very much like CEOs, and we have a non-standardized environment. So every one of the physicians and surgeons I work with had a specific way that they wanted things done, which was a headache. But, that was the job. I had to do what I had to do, So that is what I did in sports medicine.
Okay, great. So I come from that background. I'm one of the medical providers, and we all beat to our own drum. We all have our own workflows, etc. How did you get us to use these health information systems like CPOE systems and EHRs and billing systems? What kind of challenges did you have in dealing with us to convince us to use these systems?
Well, first I had to go through a process on my own of testing a bunch of different systems to find one that resonated with the workforce. And then once that was settled upon, you do your proof of concepts, which, strong points this system has over this system, and then you present it. And then once you come to a consensus on what system is being used, then I had to basically learn how to use the system and learn the backdoors and the advantages that it provided for, different departments, whether it's the clinical support staff, whether it was my own medical record staff. And that is, that was kind of the nexus of being able to convince people that this is the best particular system because of my competency of being able to navigate the system.
So if I understand this correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong, you had to figure out what your clients needed. Then you had to do the research of the technology solutions that were available. Then somehow you had to run a proof of concept. And then you had to convince people they needed it by selling it back to them in some way, shape, or form?
Essentially, but my clients were the actual medical assistants, the clinical support staff, the accounting staff, the transcriptionists, stuff like that.
Yeah, so pretty much that's exactly what we do in our business. Our business is dealing with business problems, figuring out exactly the nature of challenge, exactly the nature of the optimal workflow, then designing something, then getting a bunch of engineers to go test it, and then presenting and selling it back. So that's really, really good experience. And let me tell you, if you can convince us medical people we need something, well, you can convince just about anybody. Because we medical people hate tech. We don't like our patients, but we hate tech. And most of us cling to our paper records for as long as possible. And you know why we cling to our paper records? Well, before medical records were mandated in the U.S., medical errors were the fifth leading cause of death before electronic health records. And then when these records were shoved down our throats by people that didn't understand healthcare, guess what? Medical errors became the third leading cause of death, with 250% increase in deaths, going from 98,000 to 251,000. So that's why we didn't like it. But if you could convince us it was a good idea, let me tell you, you are a rock star when it comes to designing, presenting, and selling solutions. So good job. So look, it looks to me like you've got a ton of certifications. I actually looked through some of your certification list on your LinkedIn resume. So tell me, for example, what does the CEO care about?
The CEO of a company pretty much doesn't want to get bogged down in the weeds. The CEO has a lot of different things that, bless you, Gesundheit. the CEO has a lot of things to worry about. There's a lot of things going on in the life of the company that a CEO has to have their finger on the pulse of. So basically, when they are dealing with people that are advising them, they would like to be advised in layman's terms, because you may not get a lot of time to spend with them, because they're basically putting out a lot of flyers. And so when you come at them, you need to come at them direct and come at them in layman's terms that they can understand, that they can digest, to where they can quickly make a decision on whatever it is you're coming to them with.
But what's your key? Our key concerns as C-level executive, the CEO? What's the one thing that you must convince me of with any technology sale or solution?
I need to convince you that, first of all, the utility that is actually needed is something that the organization needs. And I need to be able to explain it in a very dumbed down, for lack of a better term, layman's terms, to get you to understand what that solution is and why the organization needs it.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about tech.
Okay.
I'm going to go with some basic intro level subnetting, because the network is the most critical thing. If the network doesn't work, nothing works.
Okay.
So let's say I needed a subnet that can support 500 hosts.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of subnet mask should I be using?
For 500 hosts, the subnet mask would be, I believe it would be 255 dot 255.0.0.
And that would give us 65,000 and change.
255.0.0.0.
No, that would give us
500.
16 million.
For 500 hosts, 255.255.255.0.
That would give us 254. Yeah, you're getting closer.
For 500 hosts, that would be subnet mask. I'm gonna have to pass on that one. I'll come back.
Okay. So now I've got two. Well, actually, I'm not going to go there. Could you explain what object storage is to me?
Yeah, object storage. With object storage is going to give you versioning capabilities. It's also going to give you metadata capabilities, which basically makes it easier to search for a particular object with object storage. And it makes it easier for you to search and query for a particular object. And object storage is basically used for software distribution. It's used for data archival purposes. And it's also used for data lakes such as Amazon S3, Microsoft Azure, GCP cloud storage. And these are all data lakes on their respective cloud platforms.
Okay. So why should I hire you?
If the decision is made to hire me, I can promise you that I will always be what I claim to be: a confident, diligent, hardworking, and analytical team player. I tend to routinely overpromise and overpromise and underpromise and overdeliver. And I'll be straight with you, because I realize that I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I will always be straight with you in that concern. And I will be constantly striving to learn the things that I don't know. And I realize that I've signed up for lifetime learning with this endeavor. And I intend to do just that. So that's what you would be getting for hiring me.
Okay. Well, let's kind of go through this. And you're pretty new to this, like brand new. Your friend just sent us you to this. So you got lots of time to improve.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way you described yourself, very much. You communicate very nicely. You're extremely likable, and you had a very good degree of executive presence. That is usually the hardest things for people to pick up on. You had that. Now, key is I wanted to see, since you came from a sales background and a more businessy background, I wanted to check out your CXO relevancy. What's the CEO care about? Profitability.
Yeah.
Making sure that the company is going to keep growing, top line revenue, those kind of things. So because of that, business acumen piece needs to grow dramatically. If you don't know how to do an IP address planning for an organization as a cloud architect, the thing is going to fall apart instantly. So you should almost just know /23 gives you about 510 hosts, which means that a /22 gives you about 1,000, which means that a /21 is going to give you double that. Because it's basically 2 to the X minus 2. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Can't hire anybody that doesn't know networking. The tech piece was a little weak, but that's okay. Look, you took a bunch of certifications. Now that you're certified, we got to basically get you to forget anything that was taught in certifications and then teach you how to do cloud architecture. But your communication skills are very, very strong. Your likability skills are very, very strong. Why I would hire you, honestly, by looking at you and interviewing you, I'd happily hire someone like you and train you because I like you so much. And I've done that in the past. So I just say, give it 3 to 6 more months and you'll be ready.
All right.
But good start. I'm thrilled you're here. We have to take care of anybody that came from the healthcare space. The fact that you lived through that, that's like living through battle. I still have battle scars on there from me. More than training with elite martial artists in my entire life. So good job on that. And a couple months later, you'll be there. You'll be there. I know you're going to be there.
Well, I intend to be. I'm keep working at this, and I expect other things.
I know you're going to be. So give it a couple months. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. But that's why I don't have 2 batches, because we all learn at different times. But the key was this: the executive presence was there. Most people don't have that, and that will separate you. Plus the likability and the honor code. I felt it. You didn't bluff. You didn't do any of these things. I'm excited. Just give it a couple more months and you're going to do fantastic. Fantastic.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, bro, for giving me the opportunity to come in here and see what's up. And I will be back, no doubt.
You know why we do these practices?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to reality, you're already going to be through it.
Yeah.
As Sun Tzu said, actually pronounced Sun Tzu, win first and then go to war. So we'll keep practicing until you win. Then you'll interview and you'll be hired like nothing.
All right.
Good job, Fred.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good job, Fred. Thank you.
Let's give everybody a hashtag Fred.
Yep. Thank you, Fred.
All right.
Have a good day.
Hey, you too, man.
All right. All right. So let's bring in our next volunteer.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh my God, Brandon.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Doing great, Brandon. How are you?
Good. I've been busy at work. I've been focusing a lot on security, and we traveled a little bit when we went and visited one of our independent distributors up in North Carolina. So I've been working on that and working on a couple projects, studying for the CISSP because that's part of my goal set, and I'm just been busy. Got a new puppy at the house, it's
a new puppy. I love that. Although I'd recommend kittens for everybody.
Yeah, our old dog passed away back in
sorry.
May. Yeah, no, he had a big mass on his lung and passed away back in May, and we found a rescue up in Tennessee, and so she is almost 6 months now. So
I love rescuing animals. I feel like
yeah,
opportunity to live.
I don't want to spend like a couple $1,000s on a pure breed. Like when you just rescue a dog, it's just love you just as much.
Love you just as much, and it needs a good home.
Yeah, exactly. So Crystal, my fiance, works like in the office maybe 1 or 2 days a week, but I'll go home at lunch and go take her out, play with her. Sometimes I'll bring her here to the office. It depends. So
I love that, Brandon. I love that, Brandon. So I do know you, Brandon. You were with us for a little while. I know you've been focused on your other job, but you've always loved.
Yeah,
And I respected how you came to us for professional development and loved your current job. And we're
I
really
do.
focused on making your current job successful and still wanted the development. And I love that.
No, you're right. I do enjoy my current job. There's always a new opportunity. Let me silence these phones. My phone goes off like 40 times a day. It's always sales calls. But yeah, no, I love what I do. I love the people I work with, and then like I just love growing. I mean, but also I like to look at there's possibilities for opportunities for me. You know, it all depends on the time of year. What's best for me. So
And I get it, but the loyalty I've seen with you is exactly what I would expect to see someone with a jarhead haircut.
no, I mean like it's. Loyalty is a two-way street, but I gotta think what's best for my career, what's best for my family, and I will be loyal to someone who's loyal to me. So, and they're
Exactly.
my employer's loyal to me, and I'm loyal to them, and we get along well, and things are good. So,
Fantastic, and I love it. So I'm going to do this like it's a pure interview style. Brandon, I'm so happy to see you. Tell me about
I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy to see you.
Chris got me on asked for volunteers. So what do you need? And I said okay. So.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here. So, Brandon, tell me about yourself.
Oh, my name is Brandon Bowman. I currently work as an information systems and security manager for a national food service buying cooperative here in the Atlanta area. I manage a private cloud infrastructure of a multi-host virtualized data center, a couple of physical servers, a legacy application platforms, an ERP platform. I pretty much handle everything from the end user to the door, anything that goes out the door. So
anything that goes out the door, I love that. Now, I heard you say you've got a security background. So
I do. I have a master's degree in cybersecurity from Western Governors University, but I love infrastructure and I love security. I like finding a good mesh between the two.
Okay, so I'm going to start with some basic networking things, and I'm going to get into security.
Yes, sir.
I need a WAN link. And I need 2 possible IP addresses, one on each side that are usable. What's the subnet mask that I would use for something like that?
A 31 or a 30 at least.
A 30, yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's on the AWS side. You usually 30 because you have reserved IP addresses for checks.
Now, we were always using the 30 for that. It was perfect to hit you instantly because the 0 is the network, the 2 are usable, and then we've got the broadcast address. So good start. What is a next generation firewall, Brendan?
Next generation firewall is a more commonly pretty much a firewall that does more than just block traffic. It filters, it does packet filtering, it does network segmentation. Pretty much you can we run a Meraki next generation firewall that handles our DHCP servers, our VLANs, our network segmentation, so it does more than just filter the traffic back in and out. And also, you could do one-to-one NATs where you could assign a public IP address to a private IP address. So if you want to broadcast the server out, if you're hosting a web server here on your inside your data center, and you want to broadcast it out to the world.
A good answer there. What's a demilitarized zone?
A demilitarized zone. That is where if you have publicly available services, you segment off a portion of your network, so only the public internet can only see that portion of your public services, and so it doesn't compromise your private subnet, your local subnet where all your critical servers are at. So it pretty much gives a gap between your private subnet or your private network that you want to protect to the public internet.
Okay, absolutely love that. Security. This is
yeah, these answers are coming right off my head because it's just
I know
practice.
they are.
It is practice. And I remember a year ago I was terrible at this.
That's okay. You grew. Could you describe identity and access management to us? What it is, how it works, and why we use it?
Okay, so identity access management is assigning users the right permissions to get able to access services. So in terms of security, you're looking at authorization, accountability. AAA, authorization, accountability, and why am I blanking right now? But what identity
in plain words, I don't care about any.
What it does is you're assigning the right user the right permissions to giving the right access to the right services. So and it pretty much it provides an accountability piece, and so you're assigning these credentials to make sure they have the right authorization to access those services.
In your background, have you ever been part of any protocol that when you were in the Marine Corps that felt just like identity and access management?
Security clearances. That's mandatory access control. You're in terms of if you're given a security clearance, you had a background check done. You're screened for suitability, and you have to have the need to know some certain information classes. So that's I've been part of the identity access management scheme essentially. So, I mean, if you have, for example, if you have a top secret clearance, there's some you don't get all the information. You get the certain segments of that area so for you to do your job.
Oh, really?
So
I need to know.
Yeah, they essentially need to know. So like if I worked in counterterrorism, I only get access to the segments of information that's counterterrorism, not like nuclear submarines. Just because I have top secret clearance doesn't mean I need to know about nuclear submarines when my job's in counterterrorism.
Okay, I love that. So you mentioned something that says how to identify that you are Brandon versus somebody else. Then you mentioned to me, what is Brandon allowed to actually access? And what's the last part of that?
Accountability.
Tracking what you did?
Tracking what you did, essentially auditing, so making sure like you have a trail of like what actions or information you saw. Authentication, accountability, and authorization. Sorry.
Okay, fantastic. If we were using AWS, for example, where would we use an access control list and where would we use a security group?
For access control list, you use that for when using users. For security groups is when you're trying to group servers or services in certain groups, allow access into there. But you have a network access control list, so that's more fine-tuned. It's network access. So you have your server, and you have around it you put your security group of what they can pretty much allow in. And network access control goes around that. It pretty much you can authorize what goes in and out from that group.
In and out of what? In and out of the server, in and out of the
server. Server services, like any web, like any application, any services that you pretty much provision in AWS.
Okay, I'll work with that. And so I have 2 internet connections, and I want to load share on them. What do I need to do?
You can either use a software-defined WAN, SD-WAN, or you can do some meshing. So there's certain applications and appliances, either a software-defined WAN, which will take both of your connections and kind of mesh them in together in a software principle, and pretty much you can load share back in and out, or you can segment traffic out one way or the other, or you can use it for failover.
What if I want 2 connections to the internet as opposed to a wide area network?
You could do that. There's nothing wrong with having 2 connections.
How would I load share? What do I need?
Either a router, BGP, some BGP protocols. You work with your ISP to if you're a smaller business to get your 2 connections working. We have 2 independent fiber lines, 300 megabit lines, dedicated lines coming from each side of the building. Because if someone in a ditch switch out the street cuts one, I gotta have access to the other.
Exactly.
It's happened.
Yeah, it happens.
Some guy on the road just cutting lines. Actually, the whole block's down. So
that's why you use 2 service providers on different coming into the building. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have 2. We have 1 service provider, 2 different lines, 2 different people. Yeah, that's not my business decision, but so that's way above my pay grade.
I've seen it. I've seen that, and yes, I've seen what happens when the internet service provider goes down or the WAN.
Yeah, but our service level agreement is pretty good. They're coming to us within an hour at most, to get our services back. Especially if only one side's down, I could route traffic out the other way of all my services, so it doesn't impact business too much, but it's still pain.
Until their service provider goes down and you're down for 24 hours.
Exactly. There's not much you can do, especially if we're in a hurricane pretty much area north of Atlanta, so if power goes up for everywhere, we hope our fiber lines are still up, but we do have a backup solution in terms of generator. We have a pretty much full generator that can power a data center, keep our services up and running. So,
and I know where you've been. I've had customers that demanded that. We told them otherwise, and then 6 months later, a year later, they were like, "All right, Mike, we got to go re-architect the whole thing." But
$40,000 for a big old generator out the back that gets tested every Monday for 30 minutes. works like a charm. I hope we never use it, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and you need that. Like I said, I've never seen a data center power failure in my life for that reason. Why should I hire you, Brandon?
When I first started here as an intern, like through about I would say March 2017. 2 weeks I was fresh out of school. I never like really learned data center. Our power went out for more than an hour. Our UPS battery was only good for like 40 minutes.
Mhm.
And like my boss and his boss they were out traveling somewhere. So I'm on the phone powering down a whole data center, not knowing what I was doing. But like my boss ended up walking me through it, and still we were down for a good couple hours, but still it was not a lot of fun. I wish I had that generator then.
Okay, so why should I hire you?
Oh, because I'm reliable. I'm a go-getter, and I like a good challenge. I like to get things done. You know, like when you tell me to do something, it's gonna get done. It's gonna get done the right way. If I don't know how to do something, I'll go figure out how to do it.
You know,
So,
that's really solid. So, tell me about yourself. Awesome. The why I should hire you. Awesome. The knowledge of firewalls and what do you call it? In demilitarized zones shows that you're a true security professional.
and try to break it down, things simple. Don't try to get too technical.
No.
I mean,
The subnetting piece, you knew how to
Yeah.
do that instantly.
that was a good guess.
Yeah, it wasn't a guess. The only thing that I would say is it needs more executive presence. It feels like you've been a strong engineer for a long period of time because you were very technically savvy there. And you're very likable. I'd add a couple of other things. I basically would make a point, pause, make your next point, pause, change your vocal tone.
Oh yeah, okay. We're in, like voice inflection.
Voice
No,
inflection.
I understand that. So
You came out a little fast
oh,
as you were
that's
saying things.
that's
Now, the reason I know why this is coming on, Brandon, you think it's that fast, and that's why you speak that fast. You're extremely intelligent. But for the architect, you got to slow it down just a little bit.
That
And
is-
you gave me every reason why I should hire you. But you skipped something that would work for me. I'm hardworking. I'm energetic. I'm motivated. I will always get the job done. I learned these principles initially in the Marine Corps. No matter what, I will complete the mission, whether I have to adapt, improvise, or overcome. I'm always there for you. That is a huge selling point for me, that background of yours. Who doesn't want someone that's been trained to be the best that will never quit until they win?
and that's a goal. Like I eventually want to like train others and like lead others for them to develop. So my goal eventually is to hopefully have a team here that I can help grow them into the people like I want them to be.
Good
So-
job. And I know you can do it, Brandon.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
You
that.
did an excellent, excellent, excellent job. But add a little more executive presence by making a point pause, make your next point pause, play with your vocal tone. And now that rock star that I just saw, and that was a rock star in every way, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
Now the others, the people that have the biggest pocketbooks in the world will see it as well.
I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me.
But rock solid, Brandon. I'm grateful to see you. Grateful you're here. I had a little fun along the way at the same time when we did this because it was so good to see you.
Yeah,
Normally I'm
definitely.
a little more focused. Good job, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
Good job. But seriously, that Marine Corps is a badge of honor. And
Uh,
many people realize that you've been trained to never quit. You know, you got going through a crucible course or doing Marine Corps PT. You know, those kind of things make you understand the no quit attitude. Employers love that no quit.
Yeah, it was a good, strong part of my life. But then again, like there's other portions of my life that that made me who I am. You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So like it's building blocks. You know, like
a
I have a
building.
good, solid foundation from the Marine Corps, but I love what I do now. I love being personal and being caring and like being empathetic. You know,
Yeah.
like so I enjoy it. You know, like I mean, I enjoy it
But yeah,
growing.
let's tie the pieces back together.
Yeah.
The never quit attitude from the Marine Corps, the master's degree, the highly educated, that emotional intelligence and empathy, which I've seen in you, which makes you great for family, great for leading teams, and great for others. Love the Brandon.
Sir.
So happy to see you.
I will be in chat for a little bit. I will.
I hope so. It's good
Yeah,
to see you. Anytime we
talk to
can see you, anytime I see you, Brandon, is a good happy day for me.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Chris, for having me and volunteering me.
Hey, thanks for volunteering.
No problem, man.
All right. See you later. All right. So I've got two more.
I love two more.
One's a surprise. Well, both are surprise technically. One's a surprise that wasn't expected. The other one's a surprise that I didn't think we were gonna. He was having some difficulty earlier, so I'm glad he was able to pop on here. But we'll go with this unexpected surprise.
I like surprises.
Yeah. So here's our next. Here's our next volunteer.
May I use the real name?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Marla. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. Marla is one of my students. I'm just excited to see her in any way that she's actually here. Always, always honored and privileged to see you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Of course, I wasn't sure if I'd make it because I was working, but I just snuck away. And I want to jump into these shark-infested waters, and let's see what I can do this time.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Marla, could you tell me about yourself?
Yes, Mike, thank you so much for having me here today. I actually have 20 plus years of work taking care of customers in the telecommunications industry. I am a solution provider. In the beginning, I was with customer service at a time when consumer electronics, mobile electronics were brand new to the world. So honestly, the answer to people's questions could change every day. So I have to tell you, I had to learn how to be agile. I had to calm some really raw nerves while still giving education to people and solving their problems. Right after that, I didn't stay there long. I went right into sales. And for years, I helped thousands of people with technical solutions to their problems for their lives and their businesses. And what was great about that is I was able to learn how to sharpen my skills, how to meet people where they were. So I had people who had only used rotary phones, all the way to folks who were telling me what was coming down the pike. So what I did was learn how to communicate, tailor my communication to the person who's in front of me. After that, after I completed my degree, because I did both of these things at the same time, I completed my marketing degree, and then I was selected to manage the relationship with my very large company, Verizon Wireless, with the largest soft drink manufacturer in the world, Coca-Cola. What I did there and what we did as a team, a major accounts team, is meet with the customer at their headquarters, find out what it is they thought they needed that would give them a competitive advantage, and then we get to work designing exactly what they needed. My particular role was to be that personal connection. I made a point of going through whatever their bills were, finding about, talking to them regularly, finding out what their folks in the field needed that would make them do whatever it is that much faster, that much more efficient, and give them a competitive advantage. What I found through all of that is that there are two major things that are most important, and that is to ask lots of questions and to listen. So from the consumer end all the way up to major corporate, what I learned how to do was those two major things. Only then did I start designing, along with my team, a solution, a technological solution that will solve their problems and advance their business goals. So that is my experience.
That's some impressive experience there, Marla.
Thank you.
Now, you've been in the tech industry for a long time.
Yes.
Could you compare the old cloud, say frame, relay, and ATM to modern cloud computing today?
I was more on the sales end and operations end. So the term frame relay, I'm not as familiar as I could be with that, but if that is something that you need me to know, I can always find out. I will research anything to the nth degree and find you the answers that you need. But if you will ask me, if you can put that into other words, I may know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, and that's very fair. So I don't expect you to know anything, let alone 25 and 30-year-old technology and phones, but specifically on technologies, but I was just curious.
That's okay.
Could you describe cloud computing to me in terms that a CEO could understand?
Sure. Cloud computing, it's really just virtualizing the network and the data center that you have on your physical premise. It is a virtualized network and data center. What that means is it's the same technology. We're just finding ways to do it to make it more agile and scalable than what you have with your physical data center. So that is why a company would even consider it. The cloud honestly isn't necessarily as fast. So we find ways to make it work. Depending upon your latency requirements, your scalability requirements, an architect, along with engineers and the whole sales team, we decide what's going to be best for you. Banks need everything to be very fast, very close, because milliseconds can mean billions of dollars. So that is the main thing. If we were to, what the cloud is simply a virtualized network and data center. We only suggest it as one of the many ways that you would advance your business goals. And that's only if it is actually applicable to your type of business.
I love that. That's one of the most crisp, clear executive answers I've ever seen. Now, you mentioned that the cloud in many cases is actually slower, and that's actually true, but more agile. Could you talk about some of the reasons it's slower in most cases than the data center?
The reasons it's slower. There are just limitations with the servers, with you're actually having to traverse fiber optic cables. You're actually having to traverse from your data center, especially when you do a hybrid or a multi-cloud environment. The distance it has to travel equals time. Whereas when you have it in your own building and you can place servers right next to each other, you have a lot of control over how quickly transactions take place. So what you're doing is leaving what you have, moving to another provider's data center. You're essentially leasing their data center, and you're actually just losing that time. So what we do is we do link aggregation. We do everything that we can to speed it up. There is more to it, but as far as for a CEO level, I'd probably have to research it a little bit better just to give you exactly what you need.
That's okay. It's pretty much the latency of the WAN, a couple of storage changes. But yeah, no, completely great answer there, and I'm totally thrilled with that. So let's talk about security. There's these tools that the cloud providers make themselves.
Yeah.
And then these enterprise grade tools sold by Cisco and Palo Alto and Fortinet and Checkpoint. Could you talk about why I might want to use one of those firewalls versus something like an AWS WAF?
Sure. Security is so important, and you really would love to have someone that is their niche. That is what they do. That's all they've been doing for 20 plus years. It is very important, I think, to go with something that works, that has a proven track record. So versus using, I honestly, AWS, Microsoft's, and Google's firewalls or anything of that nature, I would actually refer customers over to your Cisco's and your Palo Altos for that reason. It's just not worth the gamble to me.
Totally great, and that's a perfectly good answer. So how do you convince me as a CEO or a CIO or a CFO for that matter that your $150 million solution is good for my business?
What I do is, again, we research as a team. We come to you. We search your company before we've gotten there. When we get there, we do ask those questions and we listen intently, which we must do. We listen for your main goal. We don't try to think about what's the best tech that we can just, kind of cram into the architecture. We are only there in service to your needs. So after we've done that, as a team, we go back and we talk about the best way to serve this client with the architecture. Do they have low latency requirements? Should they be on the cloud at all? What other things can we suggest by looking at how their people work within the building, how they do what they do, what is our overall solution? Then we bring all of that together and create a presentation that makes sure that we've hit all the points that we confirmed with you are important to you. And we present it to you in a way that you understand. So you're a CEO, you need to increase the profits, maximize the profits for the shareholders. And that is the message that we tell you and how that will work for you. As the CIO, we need to know that this is something that you can implement with your team, that you'll be responsible for. And down from there, it just depends on that audience. That's who we tailor each of those presentations to make sure that they will have buy-in for what we have suggested.
Okay, I absolutely love that. Why should I hire you, Marla?
Mm-hmm. You should hire me because I never stop. The main thing I do, I've been designing technical solutions for over 20 years. And again, it's been successful because I make sure it is a you-centered approach. I ask questions and listen. The most important two things I can do. Then I design a solution. I confirm with you that I have covered all of the bases for you. From there, if it's something I don't know, I make sure and find out. I cannot be deterred. So that is why I will always be the best person on your team, and I will bring other people with me. I like to influence people simply by my example. And if I can energize everybody on that team to come to their highest effort, then I'm happy. I hope that would, again, make the organization very successful based on that.
Do you have any questions for me, Marla?
Michael Gibbs, what is most important to you for your business? Because whatever that is, that's exactly what I'll focus on.
My biggest concern is that my customers are satisfied and that we improve their business.
All right. It sounds like that's something I will definitely be able to do for you.
Okay, Marla, that was a $300,000 job, enterprise architect interview that you basically passed.
Thank you so much.
That's what I would expect in a very high-paid enterprise architect. At the lower salaries, we're looking at higher technical skills. At the higher salaries, we're looking for that leadership, that business acumen, that executive presence that blew me away. If you were the CEO, I would have believed it. If you told me that you were the CEO of a company, I would have seen it instantly. Communication skills were smooth. Areas that you didn't know, great. You pointed me to the things that you didn't know. You controlled that interview like a champion.
Thank you.
I
All
loved
because
it.
of you. All because of your training.
I'd like to take credit, but I'm sure I know how much hard work you've done, Marla.
Well, I appreciate it.
And I know the challenge and things you're going through while you're doing our training. I'm blown away by that. I'm so happy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really, really am very grateful to you because it has been hard, and I appreciate everything that you've done to help me.
I'm so excited by what I saw here.
Thank you.
I know it's coming for you.
Thank you.
I know it's coming pretty soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marla.
Please.
Wow, some of these things today really blew me away. Everybody did good so far, but wow, this one really, really got me. Super Child really got me. Watching Brandon come out there like a champion really got me. And everybody else who's participated, they all did good. Every last one of them. But it's a learning experience. But some of these are so basically amazing that it just makes me borderline speechless. Great job, Marla.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This has been a great experience, Mike. I will miss it if I ever leave, but I will always be here.
Well, I know you'll leave, but we're going to miss you. So you got to please keep stopping by periodically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to.
Cloud Hire. Let's give Marla a Cloud Hired, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You've been with us for about a year, which is around the time. So you're ready to get Cloud Hired.
Yay. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Marla.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we've got one more left.
I love it.
Let me bring him in. He was having some difficulty earlier. Apparently, he did not give up. So we will bring him in now. All right. So we've got Ramani here. And I think, Ramani, correct me if I'm wrong, you recently joined the program, correct?
Yeah, hi. I just recently joined the program. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Romani. When did you join?
Probably late September.
Okay, so like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah.
Okay,
How are you?
I'm doing great, and you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Fantastic.
Where are you located today?
Tampa.
Okay,
Sorry,
You're
Texas.
pretty close to Chris. And
No. Sorry, Texas. I moved a couple of months before. I'm still remembering Tampa. Sorry.
It's okay. One day I moved to New Jersey.
Sorry.
I literally, the good news is I kept the old home that I owned, and moved into another one. One day after work, I go to the office, I stick the key in the door, walk into my old home, and I realized there was a family living there, and I was like, oh, my tenants were there. I'm like, I'm so sorry, I forgot. No, I totally understand. What have you been doing in the past?
I'm a technical program manager. I'm managing the program, infrastructure program, securities and software engineering, product development, so on and so forth, for various Fortune companies.
Okay.
So I want to put my hands wet and come into the cloud architecting role. Trying to understand the concepts. I know basics of how the system design works and so on. But I want to get a deep dive, learn more into cloud. To get looking for a cloud solution architect or enterprise architect role in future.
Sounds good. So, Romani, tell me about yourself. Since that's the way most interviews start. May have frozen.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, we're going to begin that because your internet went out. So, since most interviews begin with a "tell me about yourself" question, let's get that one, and that way we can coach it. Romani, could you tell me about yourself?
Okay, so I'm a technical program manager with over 13 plus years of clients. I have managed infrastructure, cloud, and software development and product development programs. So I'm getting myself getting into technical more towards a cloud, go on to get into a cloud architect, solution architect kind of a role. Having said, because I do have the project management skills and the abilities, to talk with the customer, to talk with the stakeholders. So I thought of, getting a little bit more on the cloud and the knowledge, which is going to be the future. I can able to sustain and go past this solution architect role. So that's what I'm now getting into. But I've been loving this job as a technical program. There's a lot of challenges. You work with the engineering teams, you collaborate with the functional stakeholders, business teams, CTOs, CEOs, and so on and so forth, the executive persons. I love this role. I'm not saying I don't want or don't like, but I still want to get into a little bit more onto the solutioning and talking with the customer, trying to satisfy their needs and so on and so forth. And cloud has given an opportunity for everybody to explore. So I thought of, why can't I give a try? So that's where I'm moving towards.
I think that's a great plan. Love that plan. I'm a career transitioner myself. I used to practice internal medicine, but you've been dealing with the same tech for a long time. That's a great background. Let's start with some tech fundamentals. Could you tell me the difference between a virtual machine and a container?
A virtual machine, as per my understanding, is supporting only one operating system with, it sits on a physical server. It has which can be virtualized with one operating system and an application stack on top of that. But containers are something like it's an interdependence on. It don't have a dependency on the operating system. Every containers can have their own operating system. For example, I can able to run a .NET application in a virtual machine, but in a container, multiple containers, I can run a .NET application, a Java application, an application done by the different technologies. So it's scalable. It's more used in the microservices architecture because of the scalability, and you have the API calls and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Can I put a Windows container on a Linux machine?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So now let's deal with some IP addressing fundamentals. When would I use a VPN versus when would I use a private line?
If you are going to talk between an on-premise application that you want to go with the cloud, so it's a more of a hybrid model, that is where you use the direct connect. And if you want to have a public cloud where you have a regional connection between, say, for example, an application which is used by close to 100 plus countries, then that is where I use the VPN because of more of a public in nature, where if I want to have to connect to my data center for any, essence of, some terms like you're able to share the data on the cloud due to some restrictions, so on and so forth, and you want to connect that, you use these direct connect.
If I give you an IP address on the AWS cloud, for example, if I give you a subnet, 192.168.0.0/28, how many hosts are available in that in traditional networking versus how many hosts are available in AWS?
I'm sorry, I don't have the knowledge on the addressing, IP addressing, networking, and learning those things.
Could you give me an example of the disk performance with regards to block storage in a cloud provider and compare that to an NVMe drive in a data center?
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Could you compare the performance of block storage on the cloud to an NVMe drive that's in a server in a data center?
Okay, in terms of scalability, you'd say when the storage is in cloud, you have a ability to scale up and down and in a fraction of a second. That's one thing. But in terms of throughput, I would say that because of the storage is available in the local data center and compared to the storage where it is stored in the public cloud or public domain, probably the throughput might vary.
What about latency as opposed to throughput?
The latency will be more on the cloud compared to the one that's having in the on-premise.
A little or a lot?
A lot of latency, yeah.
Okay. So describe block storage versus object storage to me. What it is, how they work, why I would use them.
And object storage is more like you're storing your PDF file, your images, or whatever it may be, whatever the object you call. It's like, for example, like in OneDrive, right? It stores all the information in objects. So you see in Amazon S2 as an object storage, right? Compared to the block storage is where you store all the data related files and you have it in the blocks. I'm sorry, I couldn't able to get more technical detail into it. The high level, that is what my understanding is all about.
Okay. How would you secure a web app?
A secure web application,
yeah.
You meant to say? Okay.
Yeah.
So when an application is sitting inside the firewall, which has been protected by anonymous access, right, and which has an HTTPS connectivity to connect to it, is more of a secure web app compared to an application which is not into, say, for example, if you're going to an Amazon.com, anybody can go and act. If you're going for a shopping cart, it's more of a secure because of the transaction that you do where it asks you for the credentials and so on and so forth, or probably you need to pass it through the firewall. So that's a basic difference that I understand.
Okay. Why should I hire you?
One of the best thing that I do communicate well with the stakeholders. I understand the stakeholders who are the key person to whom you go and talk to get the job done. Okay, I have a knack of identifying the stakeholders, convincing them, and trying to persuade them to get the job done. So this is one strength that I do have, and even in my career, that people appreciate for those strengths. That's one key role that for any manager or architect, you need to understand who's the stakeholders and what is his wants and needs. Try to convince them and try to bring them up to your satisfaction or their satisfaction, so that you satisfy the customer end of the day. what is their needs and wants about. So I have a strength and knack of identifying those stakeholders and convincing them. That's a good thing. The second thing is, with these project management experience, I do know how to, manage things, how to, understand the difference between what's the scope and out of scope, how you, able to plan things and so on very well. So this is one of the key things that in order, even though you're going as a senior manager or an architect or a cloud architect, this is very, very vital to understand what is the need, what is the scope, what they are asking for, how do you can able to satisfy your customer in terms of wants and needs. So I think these are the two critical things that any employer will look for, which I do have. I possess strongly in those skills, which think that you would love to hire me.
Okay, so let's go through this. The intro, rock solid, Ramani. Rock solid. Now I know you've only been with us for 2 weeks, so you're going to need some training, and you know that. But you went out there. Executive presence, strong. Trust and believability, strong. Communication skills, strong. So that's all working for you. Now I gave you pretty much the most basic question to begin with. What is the difference between a virtual machine and a container?
Right.
And what I was looking for something was a virtual machine is where you take a physical server, you add a hypervisor, and that hypervisor enables you to create multiple computers.
Yeah, I didn't get the terms.
Each
Right.
independent with each other with its own operating system.
Yeah.
A container, by comparison, is almost like virtualizing an operating system, where you can create isolated little application containers inside of a single server. Now then, I knew you didn't understand containers by the way you described it, and that's when I asked you, could you put a Windows container on a Linux machine? The answer is definitely not. So the containers have to be based upon the operating system because they're using parts of the operating system. So on a Linux machine, I can't put a Windows container. I can't put a Mac OS container. So there was that. Now, when it comes to IP addressing, a /28 instantly is 16 addresses and then -2 on a normal, which would give you 14.
Okay.
In the cloud, you lose 5, it's 11. You got to know that kind of stuff, and you have to see these things. Because when you're an architect,
All right.
you're basically planning the way the traffic is going to move, where the servers, where the storage is. It's like planning a city. And planning
Right.
the traffic is based on IP addressing. So if you can't do IP addressing, which you're going to learn soon, you're not out there. Now, when it came to storage, you kind of gave me a certification example of the storage. I don't know if you listened to the question or if you just answered it, because I asked you what it is, how it works, and why you should use it.
Right.
So this is kind of like object storage is a storage area network, which means network performance is the limitation of the storage. The way object storage works is we take data, we break that data down into objects. And each object gets attached with some metadata, which is data about the data. Now, what makes object storage unique is that metadata, and we'll talk about it a little bit differently. Now, object storage is used for backup and archival purposes, software distribution, and here's the reason why. Object storage, anytime something changes, it creates a new version of it. So we can't use it by an operating system, which would create millions and millions of versions per second of a swap file, filling up the entire RAID write. Now, the good news is object storage has this metadata. And because it has the data about the data, we can find the data we need quickly. We could then clean this data and create a data lake type environment, which would enable businesses to make better business decisions through analysis of data. That's the kind of thing that I'd want from one of those things.
Okay.
Expect that of an architect. Much less, and I don't know if you listened to the question or if you just did a certification and you were just thinking like, use this for this and use this, but that's okay.
All right.
Security piece, if you're an architect, you got to know how to secure this stuff. That's okay. We got there. Here's the good news. Usually when I've got someone from a strong technical background, I got to fix the communication. If I told you that it's harder to fix the communication than it actually is to learn the technology, people would laugh, but it's not. You have the communication. You've got the leadership skills and you've got the business skills. 6 months now, you'll understand the technology and you'll be doing great.
Right. Great.
Very good start. Very good start. I think you have 2 weeks of training. 6 months from now, you're going to be in fantastic condition.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Yeah, I'm just, when I initially joined your program, I was, going through the content. I even commented on the chat. I got lost. So I'm trying to catch up and see, okay, what's happening, man? So I'm trying to learn, as you said, yeah, probably in 6 months, when we have a turn like this, let me volunteer for another interview and see how it
Yeah,
goes.
and keep doing it so you get better and better. And here's the thing: come to the live classes, ask questions in live class, turn your camera on, and I will literally call on you. And by calling on you, I'll be able to get you better every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the key goals, right? Joining the program is just not listening, just to participate. So absolutely, I'll be joining the classes and try to ask you questions and try to challenge and see how it goes. Thanks a lot, Mike, for having me.
Thank you.
All right, great.
Chris, I can probably do questions for 20 to 30 minutes, and then that's all I've got in me with my voice.
Yeah, so the way we're going to do it is I'm going to limit you to the amount of time that you can answer each question.
Okay. That works too. That's my wonderful chief operating officer taking care of me because he knows I have laryngitis.
Yes, and I know that you are persistent. That's the word I'll use.
I want to help everybody get hired.
Yeah, so everybody that was here last night, you know what hashtag to put in the chat box for Mike. So let's put that hashtag in the box for Mike so that Mike remembers what he needs to do. But we'll also make sure that we congratulate Romani on stepping up and taking part in the interview. There we go. Up and up as it, right? Save your voice, Mike. Leo, save your voice. Marla, save your voice. So that's my job, is to make sure that Mike saves his voice.
While we're at it, let me just do one thing. We just recently made a post about the inspiring and wonderful Ivan Tamba, who got his first cloud architect job with no experience out of our program. So I'm going to pop the link to that in the chat box so everybody can see it. Everybody should listen to Ivan.
And can you go to Slack real fast also? How quickly can you put that in the announcements channel?
I can do it real quick.
My camera's, I don't know if it's my camera or my lighting. I feel blurry.
You did get blurry.
I am blurry. What is it? This is not working. Oh well, we're gonna be blurry, Chris. All right, so let me go find our first question, and I got my timestamps here. All right. So many comments, which is a good thing. Not that I'm complaining.
Love comments. Love participation.
So much scrolling. 217. Oh, there's a lot of comments at 217. Maybe I should have been a little bit more precise. Okay, so Ashish says, I have 16 plus years of experience in ERP. So is this a good decision to move to AWS as a fresher?
So Ashish, I don't know why you'd be a fresher going to AWS with 16 years experience. With the right training, you could move into a senior architect role and get paid highly for it. We've got people that didn't graduate high school working as solution architects. We get people that have no background working as solution architects. And when we have somebody that's 16 years experience in tech, they typically get these $250,000 to $300,000 big jobs. So the key is if you get the right training, you won't be there as a fresher. You'll be a senior architect or a principal architect or an enterprise architect. But you need to get the right training, because architecture is about improving business performance, not about configuring tech. As architects, we don't code, we don't configure, we don't do DevOps, we don't do SysOps. We design, present, and sell a solution to improve customers' business performance.
All right. So our next question is, how do we transition from an engineer to an architect? This is where I'm going to turn my timer on.
Raheel, you need to completely be retrained. Engineering and architecture are opposite careers. Architects focus on business transformation. Engineers focus on tech. So in addition to, so engineers configure things, here we need to learn how to design things. So you're going to need design training. You're going to need complete rebranding to change your resume, because nobody wants an engineer as an architect. We get engineers architect jobs constantly by retraining them. It'll be about improving your business acumen, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your executive presence, your emotional intelligence, your presentation skills, your ability to do an ROI model, how to respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, how to write thought leadership documents, how to present to large audiences, and literally speaking, how to talk in a manner that's going to be simplified for executives. And it's a rebranding thing. For example, you might have said, I've coded this application in Java for an engineer. At the architect level, we don't want that. But you may have said you designed this web application that improved revenue, or that improved sales or e-commerce sales by 13%. That's what we need to do. So it's knowing exactly the architect role and getting the exact training. So it's kind of like you train to be an airplane mechanic, and now you need to train to be a pilot. Same thing. We could train you. We do it all the time, but you need training.
All right. So our next one is, what's the best CCNP concentration for cloud? Currently had the following certifications and wanted to know if I can jump into cloud with CompTIA Server, Cloud, Pentest, Linux, and the trifecta.
Well, Guillermo, we always remove CompTIA certifications from a resume because they make someone look like they're ready to do help desk or junior level jobs as opposed to being an architect. So, Guillermo, you need to learn how to be an architect. Don't focus on certification, focus on being trained to be an architect. So, it's not about certifications. It's about your business acumen, your leadership, your skills, sales skills, and how to put the pieces and parts together. That CCNP will help you get an interview, but you're going to need architecture training to get hired. But if anything, the enterprise is a good one. It'd probably be the best one that I would do, but remember, you can spend the next 10 years on certifications. Unless you do architecture training, you're still going to be doing engineering work.
All right. So our next one is a couple of posts. I had to ask some clarifying questions when they came up. So it's I'm a bit confused between the cloud architect and cloud engineer course. Which one do I decide? I'm working as a developer till now and have a bit of hands-on on DevOps as well, but I am really thinking of shifting to the cloud architect role, but little unsure whether I will be able to pitch to CTOs, CFOs, presentations, etc.
Peel, what do you want to do in life? Do you want to code and configure all day long? Be an engineer. You want to be an architect and design, present, and sell? Do that. I wasn't born knowing how to practice medicine. I wasn't born knowing architecture. I went to school for it. So what is your goal? If your goal is to be an architect, and I highly encourage you to do so, then that's that. I'm not recommending engineering careers right now. And I'm not recommending them because we're in a recession, and it's looking like a pretty significant global recession is coming. And the key is there's so many jobs for architects to digital transformation. Architects bring money into businesses. Engineers cost businesses money. So generally speaking, in a recession, engineers get laid off and architects and sales reps get hired. So I'm not recommending any engineering careers right now. You know, when the economy gets a little better, I will be, because we architects sell it. We're going to need more people to build it. But for right now, I view most engineering jobs going to be outsourced to the lowest cost places where we can find highly qualified people.
All right. So our next question is, what is the path for a beginner like me who wants to get into the cloud? And they are actually from Cameroon and know Yvonne. So I'm glad that they joined us today.
Cleon, the best path is to train for the job you want and get hired. Yvonne's first job was a cloud architect. Coyote, and I believe he's Cameroonian's first job was a cloud architect. Jennifer's first tech job was as a cloud architect. Jermaine's first tech job was as a cloud architect. Jeffrey West's first tech job was as a cloud architect. Here's the path. Train for the career you want and go get it, Cleon. But I can tell you one thing. Trying to learn somebody else's job, like a cloud engineer, will not make you a cloud architect. Then you'll need training to become a cloud architect later. So it's somehow to pick the career you want and get the right training. And Cleon, make sure you're also part of Cloud Heroes Africa. And because I work very diligently to help them, and that's we do a lot in Cameroon. I actually have 2 employees in Cameroon right now. And who knows, we may be getting more soon.
right. So if you've got any more questions, make sure to bring them in. I'm only going to let Mike stick around for a few more minutes. So this was a nice comment from MD. Not watching live, but what an amazing session. Thank you, Mike, Chris, Leo, and Alonzo, and the entire team for enabling anyone who dares to put the work in to get cloud hired at a low cost. See, that last part is the important part.
Yeah.
Anyone who dares to put the work in.
Yes.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's not going to be spoon-fed to you.
There's over 500 hours of training in our program. But look at Chow. Look at Super Chow. She's been with us a year. Look at Marla. She's been with us a year. Look at Brandon. You can see what they are. They put in the work. And we love getting people caught hard. I don't really need to work. So we charge about what we need to cover our costs and make sure we're a scalable organization. And I can't wait. And every day I see somebody get caught hard, it really hits me. And if you want to know how much it hits me, I saw Chow was ready to get caught hard and leave our nest. And if anybody saw how that affected me, which I'm slightly embarrassed about, you know exactly how much we care.
Yep. Here we go.
Just thinking about Super Chow's.
Oh, what's that noise? That's a timer. All right, let me reset that. So our next question, I have 16 years of experience in IT, currently in data analytics from the SAP side, but want to move towards Azure, AWS, Cloud Architect. And I was wondering for the right place, hope this is the right place. How long will the course go? Duration. Let's see there. Why is it not letting me click this? Thanks a lot, Mike.
So the course will take until you're hired. What I mean by that is nobody needs a year, but we give you a full year to be in our program. Because I want to know that every student I have gets hired. It's about 500 hours of training in the course. And how long it takes is going to be on you. How fast do you learn? Do you come to the classes? Do you participate in classes? Do you turn on your camera in class? And let me ask you questions. Do you do the projects? Do you turn in your homework assignments when we give you feedback on the assignments? Do you take the feedback seriously? And after that, if you do those kind of things, then you're going to do really, really well. And we'd love to train you. I love watching everybody get caught hired. Absolutely love it, love it, love it.
All right, so Josephine asks, is Mike one-on-one coaching with interview prep?
Josephine, we do have one-on-one coaching available for people that actually purchase that. Our program is a group coaching program. We do very soon have a program that does include some one-on-one coaching, but unfortunately we won't be able to do that at the $1,000 world. It will be $10,000 above and then some. But yes, you can get coaching whether you're our student or not. By booking someone from my team can actually post a link to getting an hour with me in the chat box. Please note, there are so many requests from my coaching sessions that it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to schedule one. And we do interview preparation as well.
All right. Cleon shared, I followed you on LinkedIn. I really appreciate the information you're giving out here. Thanks a lot. It's very insightful and enlightening.
You're welcome. We want to get the world cloud hired. You said you were in Cameroon. We love the Cameroonian community. We have at least 300 or 400 Cameroonians in our program, and they're rock stars. We have people from all over the world.
And J Love says, I'm training for CCNA, but I have no idea what next after taking the CCNA exams.
I don't know what your goals are. You're talking certifications. If your goal is a solution architect or cloud architect, so certifications by themselves will never get you hired. You're going to need the right business skills, the right architectural design skills. All certifications teach you basically a name of the service and how to configure that service. Architects don't configure. Architects design, present, and sell. So please don't focus on certification if you want to be an architect. Focus on developing architecture skills.
All right. And Michael asks if you could elaborate a little more on what executive presence is.
Michael, great question. Hi, my name is Mike Gibbs. I'm a cloud architect with 25 years of experience. That's without executive presence. Hi, my name is Mike Gibbs. I'm a cloud architect with 25 years experience, and I'm here to help transform your business. Can you feel the difference, Michael? One, I was small. My voice was there. There was no inflection in my tone. There were no pauses. And the other, you could see me and feel me as capable. Good question. By the way, I only had to have about $20,000 of training to learn how to do from one to the other on just executive presence training.
All right. And we, as a reminder to everybody, we do answer the questions chronologically. So if you're asking why we haven't gotten to your questions, because we're answered them chronologically. So Sunetta says, can you suggest how to switch into DevOps cloud computing?
Sunetta, I am not a DevOps expert because I'm an architect. But if you're a software engineer, get some DevOps training from somebody that's qualified to do it. Again, not a certification. Learn qualified DevOps engineering training, DevOps tools, and DevOps methodologies, Terraform, infrastructure as code, lots of Kubernetes, for example. But I'm not a DevOps engineer. That's why I don't teach DevOps. Like, there's a huge market for it. But we're not people like certification providers. We don't get a certification and teach a product we don't understand. This is not my area of expertise.
All right. And our next one is CCNA a requirement or a nice to have to move into an AWS solutions architect position?
Rejected records. I've got people like Delroy Bat that are getting cloud security architect jobs with 0 certifications. There are no required certifications to get any job. What's required is the skill to do the job, and certifications don't cover any of these skills. They don't cover system design. They don't cover how to tune and optimize a business. They don't cover responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. They don't cover the leadership skills. They don't cover the executive presence. They don't cover the CXO relevancy. They don't teach you how to build a business case. You're going to need training, and I promise you it's not going to be a certification. You can get 50 certifications, and they'll still not hire you as an architect. You need to be trained to be an architect. So if you're not with us, in addition to learning these things, get deeper certifications like a Cisco certified internet expert or a Cisco certified design expert, which that'll teach you how to put pieces together. Then learn the network and the data center, and then get an MBA. But you're going to need an MBA too if you're not with us, because you're going to need those business skills and leadership skills, not just tech skills. It's not a tech job. It's 80% business, 20% tech. And yes, you can do it. But make sure you get architecture training somewhere.
All right. And just to go back to the question from Sunetta about DevOps cloud computing, do we have anyone that we would recommend?
Sandeep does.
Okay.
Over in India.
Okay. All right. So I'll make sure to find.
We're friends and recommend people back and forth to each other. He
Yeah.
sends people to me for architecture. I send people to him for DevOps.
So I'll make sure to put his LinkedIn and YouTube channel information in the chat box here for Sunetta, because as Mike mentioned, we are not DevOps, so we don't want to try and provide advice for something that is not our area of expertise. So that is why we will provide you the information for someone that is an expert in that area. Next question is from this next one's not really a question, I don't think. I think it's just a statement. I have the SA certification. I need the architectural skills to get hired.
Absolutely true. We see that all the time. In fact, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people before we launched this program to see if any of them knew architecture, and I couldn't find a single hireable one.
All right. Well, we currently... Oh, Alonso beat me to it. Okay. We currently don't have any more questions.
Then let's end there because my laryngitis is kind of getting to me.
Good. Well, I mean, not good that it's getting to you. Good that I don't have to cut you off. I don't like to cut you off. And what were you about to say?
I was going to thank everybody for being here.
Okay.
Ask for a hashtag, and then I was going to go back to you to remind everybody to sign up for all the free stuff we're doing.
There we go. I was going to say, I can remind people about all the stuff. So, what kind of hashtag do you want, Mike?
Give me a hashtag cloud architect, please.
Hashtag cloud architect.
And a hashtag tech career interview training.
Okay. And a hashtag tech career interview training. Okay. Perfect.
And I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to especially thank all the wonderful people who have participated. It's not easy to do this on camera. Believe me, I know. And I'm proud of every last person that participated. And if you've watched and didn't participate next time, next month. And Chris is going to tell you about some amazing free things they're going to do to help you all get cloud hired. And yes, I said y'all because I've been hanging around Chris in Mississippi stuff too long, and I love it.
All right, so now let me go on with all the stuff that we've got coming up. So next Tuesday we have the first day of our AWS Certified Solutions Architect Bootcamp. That will start at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, October 12th, and that will happen each day next week at the same time. Sessions will be about 3 hours. Make sure to register at the link that Leo has put in the chat box, and that is free Solutions Architect, AWS Certified Solutions Architect training, free for you. So that will start next Tuesday. Also, next Tuesday night, after the first day of the boot camp, we will have Alvin DaCosta, the Vice President of Global Partners at NVIDIA, will be joining us at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for Head in the Clouds next Tuesday. So make sure to set a reminder for that. And Leo's put the link to that in the chat box as well. Next, we have the AWS Advanced Networking Plus What You Really Need to Know Bootcamp coming in November. And that will cover all kinds of fun things that I know Mike wants to say what it is right now because I have no clue. Mike, what is it? What are we covering in addition to all the AWS Advanced Networking stuff?
We're going to cover switching and VLANs and VLAN tagging and trunking and link aggregation groups. We'll cover IP address planning, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation. We'll go over BGP. We'll talk a little bit about interior gateway protocols, specifically like OSPF, and how it pertains with iBGP and other kind of BGP, which is critical. We'll get into WAN technologies. We're going to add some things that are pretty important.
All right, perfect. If you keep hearing this ding, 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 that I literally have a timer to make sure that we're keeping Mike under his allotted time here. So, all right. So, like I said, AWS Advanced Networking Plus What You Really Need to Know, that will happen in November. Again, that's going to be just like our AWS Certified Solutions Architect Bootcamp. It'll be a week-long bootcamp in November. So make sure to register at the link that is provided in the chat box. Then lastly, we're going to have so many things, so many things that are coming up. So make sure that you follow Mike and Go Cloud Careers on LinkedIn. This is where we're going to be sharing all the information about things that come up. So if you want to know when we're doing something or when we're going to have a special guest or when we're going to have a boot camp or when we've got a discount or when we've got anything, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn because it will always be put there. And while I was speaking of a discount, we decided to activate a discount in the middle of the live stream today that we plan on doing next week. So I don't have a banner for it for you up there, but we've now made active our discount code SECURITY for 30% off of our training, both the full payments and the payment plans, because it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we have provided that for you all. I think Leo's got that in there. So we actually have two codes. It's We've got cyber and we got security. Either one of them, you can't go wrong. So you can use cyber or you can use security. And both of those will get you that discount. So that's all I've got for you all. Here I am saying you all, Mike's saying y'all. I don't know what's happening. The end of the world's coming, I guess. I don't know what. But anyway, thank y'all. There we go. Thank y'all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing y'all next time on YouTube. So bye, everybody.